Global disaster. I have countless black technologies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76, Floating City. The cruelty of the end ocean age. This is much more terrifying than the previous ice age. The impact on humanity is also greater than that of the ice age. All land is submerged by seawater. Lost land presence. As terrestrial creatures, humans can only rely on boats or water vehicles to drift in the powerless sea. Disasters are fickle, and no one knows what to expect. If you accidentally encounter any maritime disaster, it will be the end of the shipwreck. Of course, if there were no boats and underwater vehicles, humans would be even worse. I can only watch the sea level rise, be submerged by the sea, and finally watch in despair, suffocate to death. It is precisely because of this that the state explains the Arctic plan in the early warning information issued to keep the people hopeful. However, this Sea Arc plan made by the state is really a big deal. After reading the official warning information released on the official forum again, Li Hao's face couldn't help but flash aside. Built tens of thousands of sea steel ships and several 50 square kilometers of mobile steel islands as sea arcs. This engineering volume and industrial system is simply not too scary. You know, this is the end of the world. Human civilization has suffered heavy losses, and productivity has fallen off a cliff. It is simply a miracle that the Xiego government can still have such a strong and complete industrial manufacturing capacity. Obviously, before the giant meteorite fell, that is, before the end came, the Xiego government was extremely decisive in preserving a large amount of industrial infrastructure. Large island sanctuary. The ocean age has arrived. In this way, everything can be connected and everything will make sense. Looking at this piece of information, a trace of abruptness flashed in Li Hao's eyes. According to the official information, this Sea Arc plan will be carried out in a large plateau built before. After being strengthened, sheltered by low-grade genetic agents, his brain memory is also much better than before. Although it is not to the extent of forgetting, he can still recall the memories within a few months. If he remembers correctly, a news item he read on December 8, 2020, Chapter 22, mentioned the construction of these 10 large plateau shelters and the reconstruction of the railway. That said, the country had some predictions about the emergence of the ocean era before December 8, 2020. Whether it was rebuilding railways or building 10 large shelters in the highlands, it was clear that the aim was to prepare for a possible tsunami from rising oceans. It was only later, through the comparative analysis of lunar parameters transmitted by exploration satellites, that the fact that the ocean would eventually engulf the land was completely determined. Therefore, the state transferred all the preserved industrial systems to the 10 large plateau shelters in one fell swoop, preparing to launch a human self-help plan. This was the birth of the grand plan of the Arc of the Sea. Perhaps, this big plan will continue for some time. That's how it should be. Rubbing his temples, Li Hao analyzed the context of the whole thing and muttered to himself. He understands that the country has not previously announced a possible tsunami and a rising ocean crisis. Because the accuracy of the news has not been thoroughly confirmed before, it is meaningless to publish it for the public to know. It will even only plunge the population into despair and exacerbate the emergence of chaos. Just like now, the official warning information also states that the Arctic plan is to keep hope as much as possible for all people and reduce the appearance of despair and chaos. After all, a completely desperate person, who wants to self-destruct, cause others to die with him is not terrible. The terrible thing is that tens of millions, even hundreds of millions of people, are completely in despair at the same time, and want to self-destruct while pulling others to die together, and the consequences are enough to completely destroy a country and even civilization. Since the state has issued this early warning information now, it must indicate that the matter has reached a certain seriousness and cannot be concealed. Maybe the gravitational imbalance of the Earth and the Moon has caused the sea level to rise, and the seawater has begun to engulf the continent. Thinking of this, Li Hao's heart was solemn, and at the same time, a sense of urgency also rose. There will be no waves under the overturning. A catastrophe such as the ocean's engulfing of continents is obviously no one from avoidance. Unless someone suddenly comes up with nuclear fusion, relying on nearly inexhaustible energy, overcoming all kinds of difficulties, and building a floating city or floating shelter, far from the ground, permanently suspended above the sky. Ask for flowers, however, this is clearly not possible. Even he couldn't have done that. Although he has the Doomsday Black technology system and can get countless black technologies, his points are far from enough to support him to buy nuclear fusion technology. Not to mention the other high-end technology needed to build floating shelters. Instead of such an unrealizable daydream, it is better to get a sea giant ship yourself. Those group shelters should have received this news in advance, and with the strong strength they saved before the end, it is not difficult to build a small sea ark of their own square bracket. As for other ordinary shelter people who do not have the ability to build ships and cannot get a large ship, it is obviously the best and only option to go to the official shelter and obtain the qualification to board that ship above the sea. But this road is not so easy. Although I don't know how many people died after the end of the world, before the end of the world, the Xia kingdom was more than 2 billion people. Even if only 2/3 of the dead remained, there were at least 700 million people, and the officially disclosed Sea Ark plan, even if it was all completed and reached the maximum capacity under ideal conditions, could only carry 600 million people at most. However, it is obviously almost impossible to reach the maximum capacity, and the number of people that can actually accommodate is probably only less, and much less. Unless the ocean age arrives much later than officially expected, giving officials time to build more ships, at least hundreds of millions of people, if not more, will not be able to board ships. Thinking of this, Li Hao couldn't help but be a little silent. Although he didn't have a real feeling, the huge number of hundreds of millions still made him a little frightened. You know, this can be a living life. However, the cruelty of the end times can make these hundreds of millions of people die like ants. Forget it. It's useless to think about it. In such a doomsday environment, it is impossible to save so many people with my current ability, or take care of myself first. The ocean era is come in, and as soon as this shocking official warning message comes out, I am afraid that the doomsday forum will also explode now. With the idea of diverting attention a little, Li Hao closed the official forum and opened the doomsday forum key on. Chapter 77 Joint Self-Rescue Action. The Hesitation of Zhazushi in number 039. S3 daughters. Sure enough, the number of posts in the forum is skyrocketing. For a moment, it seemed that countless people were posting, venting their uncalm mood. It's over. Humanity is completely unsaved. Nemes. The ice age has just passed, the moon has been deflected, God this is playing us to death! Lying trough, the ocean engulfs all continents, this is to return to the rhythm of the ancient ocean era of blue star! No one can escape this catastrophe, the destruction of mankind is at hand. Far. Didn't you see what the information released by the state said? 10 large plateau shelters started construction at the same time, and it is expected to build tens of thousands of sea steel giant ships, and several mobile steel islands of 50 square kilometers to rescue the people, and mankind will not perish. 717 That's right. Human civilization lives forever, and human brilliance lives forever. Huh. Too optimistic, too naive, not to mention whether this big plan can be completed. Even if it can be completed, entering those steel giant ships is just a matter of survival. You can't go anywhere, maybe you will have to work like a robot until you die. According to the official warning information, in the face of this global super catastrophe, the vast majority of people at the Doomsday Forum are pessimistic, as if the end of humanity is imminent. Only if you remain optimistic. Of course, the state's announcement of the Ark at Sea plan still is in effect. Opening the exclusive discussion thread on the Doomsday Forum about the Ark at Sea project, Li Hao found that although many people are pessimistic, there is still a glimmer of hope in their hearts. The ocean age has come in, brothers, are you ready? It doesn't matter if we are ready or not, we only hope that the plan for the Sea Ark prepared by the country can go smoothly, otherwise we can only lie down and wait for death. Wow. After struggling for so long, my mother will eventually drown in the sea, and I know that it is better to commit suicide directly before the end of the world, and die early and surpass life. Don't give up, bro. The country hasn't given up on us yet! Arxiago government is the most awesome, and it has preserved such a well-preserved and powerful industrial system so far. That's right. Tens of thousands of offshore steel ships and several 50 square kilometer mobile steel islands are a super big project. Before the end of the world, it can definitely go down in history. Cool world. Alas. It's too early to rejoice. Who knows how much this so-called Ark at Sea project can accomplish. In case there are not enough ships built and the capacity is limited, there will definitely be a large group of people who will not be able to board that ship. If this is the case, the qualification for boarding must be difficult. The country can only choose elites, at least have a skill. The more useful the skill, the greater the probability that it should be selected, such as scientists, agricultural academicians. These high-end talents will be but 100%. Wipe. If this is the case, then labor and management can only repair cars. Won't they be 100% unable to get on the ship? Not necessarily. It depends on how many ships are built, and the more you have, the lower the threshold should be. Brother upstairs, you can at least repair cars, know a certain amount of mechanical knowledge, and can transform into other mechanical, related jobs, which is much more useful than my skills. I've been a salesman for several years, and I can only sell and buy things, and now I still need 4 salesmen in this area! ! I can only hope that the ship can be built a little more. Labor and management just want to live. Why is it so difficult? Don't sit still, saving yourself is king. We all rely on boats to eat. The shelter will build ships, and shipbuilding a lot of people. We decided to go to the nearby shipyard to see if we can rely on the shipyard machines to make a large ship out. Are there any brothers nearby who want to join forces? There are many people in great strength. If there are any, add me to a private chat. Big brother upstairs. I will shipbuilding, PhD. In ship design, take me one. I'll come too. There are a lot of talents in the forum. So soon someone thought of recruiting people who were jointly proficient in shipbuilding, and they would work together to build a large ship and survive this catastrophe. However, it is quite feasible. As long as you can get a shipyard with fairly good mechanical facilities. With the combination of these professional shipbuilding talents, it is impossible to really get them a high-quality large ship to produce rice. Seeing the back, Li Hao found that the post had been crooked to build his own large ship as a refuge at sea. Many smart people were inspired by the self-help plan announced by the official shelter and planned to join forces with others to launch self-help activities. There are even many people who have crooked brains and are ready to go to ports and coastal areas to look for those pre-apocalyptic ships and cargo ships as their own sea refuge. It has to be said that in order to survive and save themselves, human beings can always force themselves to their maximum potential. There really are all kinds of whimsy. For a time, the forum was dancing with demons, and there were posts everywhere about gangs and factions recruiting people to save themselves. It seems that in the future, the integration of resources between various private shelters and joint self-help should be the main theme. Seeing this, Li Hao also knew in his heart and closed the Doomsday Forum. And right now, Zhao Zushi ran in from outside, threw herself into Li Hao's arms with a hesitant expression, and said in a somewhat trembling tone, "Uncle, the official news said that the moon is deflected, and the ocean will engulf all continents. What should we do?" Without waiting for Li Hao to speak, Zhao Zuki and Zhao Zuo's 2 daughters also followed in with a panicked expression. Apparently, they also knew about the shocking news released by the official release and came to Li Hao to discuss this matter, hoping that he would not have an idea. After all, he is the owner of the shelter and their 5.3 backbone. What is there to be afraid of? It's just the era of oceans. The moon deflects, the seawater pours into the world. Let's transform the shelter into a closed shelter, and enter the sea alive as long as we are prepared. It is not difficult to survive the past. Touching Zhao Zushi's little head, Li Hao spoke softly, using as relaxed a tone as possible to calm the 3 women's uneasy emotions. He really wasn't lying, though. Over the years, he has accumulated a large number of points, plus so many black technologies in the vault. His probability of surviving the ocean age is greater than that of other sanctuary wives. Just be prepared to transform the sanctuary into an ocean sanctuary before the ocean age really arrives. Chapter 78 Head full of question marks, righteous backstab. But transforming the shelter is a big project. Can we do it before the ocean era comes? Otherwise, let's find people from other shelters to unite. Zhao Zuki said with some unease. Li Hao's shelter is too big. From a practical point of view, it is impossible to complete the transformation of the shelter in a short time with these 20 or so people in the shelter alone. It will take at least a few years. By then, I am afraid that the seawater will have already washed up. Nope. I'll show you something, and you'll understand. Don't worry. The sanctuary will surely survive the marine era. Hearing Zhao Zuki's suggestion, Li Hao also smiled slightly. He understood Zhao Zuki's worries very well. After all, Zhao Zuki didn't know where her strength was. Under normal circumstances, joining with other shelters now is indeed the best option. Therefore, he plans to take Zhao Zuki and they directly see the fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus, so that they can know their strength, so as not to worry all day long, worried that the sea will engulf the continent and rush into the shelter. Of course, regarding the existence of the all-self, -15 multifunctional mechanical building octopus, he did not want to hide it before. It's just that Zhao Zu drew his own brain supplement and directly guarded this secret for him. Hearing Li Hao's words, Zhao Zu on the side also suddenly thought of something at this moment. A light flashed in his eyes, and the expression of apprehension and panic on his face dissipated a lot. Because she suddenly remembered the high-tech looking architectural octopus robot that Li Hao had shown her before. In just 15 minutes, a refrigerator room of several hundred square meters was expanded. The efficiency is frighteningly fast. With the high-tech construction robot in place, transforming the shelter is not a simple matter. Thinking of this, she heard that Blue Star was about to enter the ocean era, and her panic suddenly calmed down a lot. Moreover, Anchor can have such a high-tech construction robot, and must have a lot of other high-tech, and it must be much easier to survive the marine era than others. Recalling that he knew the magic of Anchor before, he was still panicked, as if the sky was falling. Zhazuo felt like his face was on fire. Panic. I don't know the mental activity of Zhazuo's painting. Li Hao glanced at Zhazuo, whose face suddenly began to turn red, strangely, and couldn't understand what was wrong with her. Obviously he was panicked just now, and now he suddenly blushed, can't figure it out. Li Hao didn't care, took Zhazuo, took the two women, and walked towards the direction of the mechanical warehouse. Before coming to the mechanical warehouse, Li Hao opens the door of the machinery warehouse. A silver mechanical octopus suspended out of thin air appeared in front of Li Hao and others. Question mark. Fortunately, Zhaozu painted it. She had seen this suspended mechanical octopus before, and although she was still shocked when she saw it the second time, she was not as stunned as the first time. She was mentally prepared. And Zhazuki and Zhazushi are different. They are the first time to see such a sci-fi thing, and they have no preparation in their hearts before, and they are completely stunned in place, with a look of confusion and question marks. First reaction, what is this thing? The second reaction, when was this high technology still hidden in the shelter? For a while, their hearts were almost filled with doubts. Coming back to their senses, the two women slowly turned their gazes to Li Hao, with a probing and knowing look on their faces. The full name of this thing is fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus, which can quickly design and build various building facilities, and the efficiency is at least dozens of times that of human construction. I just plan to use it to quickly transform the shelter. Facing the inquiring gazes of the two women, Li Hao spread his hands and explained. Listening to Li Hao's explanation, Zhaozushi and Zhazuki gradually understood the role of this thing, and also knew Li Hao's confidence in transforming the shelter. The worries in my heart about the arrival of the ocean era suddenly eased a lot. With such a high-tech construction robot, there is definitely no problem in the transformation of the shelter, and it is not impossible to survive the marine era safely. Especially Zhaozushi, she admired Li Hao even more in her heart. Anchor is indeed the most powerful. I have long been ready. I actually didn't want to hide it from you. I had already brought the snow painting to see it before, but she had to keep her brain secret and didn't tell you. In the end, Li Hao showed a sinister smile on his face and directly sold Zhaozu's paintings. In the face of Li Hao's blow justice backstab, this time it was Zhaozu's turn to put a question mark. Is that so? My previous hard secrecy was actually all in my brain. Thinking about it carefully, Zhaozuo found that this seemed to be the case. Li Hao never said to let her keep it secret, which was indeed made up by her brain under her habitual thinking. Just when Zhaozuo showed a look of shame on her face, Zhaozuki and Zhaozushi heard that the second sister, actually concealed such an important matter from them, and they couldn't help but do it. 853 tickling the armpits. After a torture, Zhaozuo almost collapsed with a smile, and quickly begged for mercy, and her clothes were scattered, revealing a lot of white spring-like. After some fighting, Zhaozuki's three daughters seemed to have returned to their former state, and their faces were no longer worried and pressed. Let's go. It's so late. Dinner hasn't been eaten yet, so let's go to rest after dinner. Seeing that the atmosphere in the shelter returned to normal, Li Hao smiled with satisfaction and spoke. After the official news released the news that the moon was deflected and the ocean age was come in, tossing and turning, and now the time is already 10 o'clock in the evening. After eating this dinner, which was equivalent to a late night snack, the four of them went back to their bedrooms to rest. One night without a work. March 27, 2021. Li Hao's biological clock gets him up at 6 am on time. Feeling that he was fighting all night and still full of energy, Li Hao was also very proud in his heart. Without alerting the sleeping Zhaozushi, Li Hao got up and exercised his muscles, then washed and dressed and walked out of the bedroom. There's a lot to do today. The most important of these is the renovation of the shelter. Chapter 79 Movable Marine Shelter. Submarine-type marine shelter. Come to the living room. It's only 6 o'clock now, and Zhaozuki and Zhaozuo haven't gotten up yet. Seeing this, Li Hao decided to do it himself and make a bowl of scallion oil noodles for his breakfast. Walking to the kitchen, Li Hao was making breakfast while thinking about what to do today. The moon is deflected, and according to official forecasts, it is very likely that the ocean will remain to cover the entire blue star in the future. Although this has not yet happened, there are clearly obvious signs. Otherwise, the official will not directly issue an emergency disaster warning notice, which means that the ocean era will definitely come, but no one knows exactly when. In that case, it is best to transform and upgrade the shelter faster, otherwise when the ocean era comes, the transformation work has not been completed, and the game is over. As for other things, none of them are important, and they can be pushed back, or simply cancelled to make way for the renovation and upgrading of the shelter. If you want to transform the shelter, you should give the highest priority to transforming the external protective wall, making it completely closed, to ensure that the seawater will not flood the shelter. The protective wall material is also readily available in the shelter, and the energy-absorbing alloy is the best protective wall material. In this way, the shelter that has completed the renovation of the exterior wall can become a marine refuge, and it will be no problem to survive the tsunami crisis that flooded the world. And if the other parts are transformed, you can slowly add them when you have time. Li Hao thought thoughtfully. A major tsunami is bound to occur across the globe with ocean backfill. At that time, there will be hundreds of millions of tons of seawater wrapped in a large tsunami, and the power is undoubtedly huge. Only a shelter with a sufficiently strong enclosed facade can survive this great crisis. As for the food, energy, etc. needed to survive in the ocean age, the shelters are well developed and most are self-sufficient. Even if you can't be self-sufficient, the reserves are very sufficient, and you don't have to worry about it in a short time. For now, there's nothing to waste on these aspects. He only needs to focus on retrofitting the protective facade of the shelter. After sorting out his work priorities during this period, Li Hao also made his breakfast. A large bowl of noodles with green onion oil. It looks like it's at least a pound, which is a lot. Almost equivalent to a day's ration for an average person. However, Li Hao did not feel much at all, but felt a little less. If he hadn't eaten 5 layers for breakfast, he would have eaten an extra slice of noodles with oil. After all, energy is conserved. His current physical functions are almost equivalent to the humanoid little monster, and the energy consumption is naturally not small. The consequence of this is that the amount of rice has skyrocketed, turning it into a real rice barrel. I may finish this pound of scallion oil noodles. After breakfast, Li Hao walked to the mechanical warehouse. He is ready to get to work. Start the fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus in the mechanical warehouse. Take a walk around the sanctuary with a fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus. Watching the fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus calculate all the structural drawings of the current shelter, Li Hao already knows how to design and build the protective exterior wall of the shelter. Maybe it can be made into a spindle shape like a submarine shell. From the detection structure diagram of the fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus, the shape of the entire shelter is similar to a long strip. However, since the front part is a residential area for the shelter, it appears to be smaller. The latter part is several times larger than the previous part, with new underground parking lots, farms and large facilities such as agricultural plantations. This structure, if made into a spindle shape like a submarine shell, fits almost perfectly, enveloping the entire shelter. Of course, it is actually possible to convert the entire shelter into a large steamer. But Li Hao plans to convert the shelter into a movable ocean shelter in the future. Mobile ocean shelters of large steamer structures are too inflexible and can only be navigated on the water. If you encounter a big storm, there is no place to hide, you can only resist. It would be different if the shelter was converted into a submarine-type mobile ocean shelter. It can both sail on the surface and dive deep into the seabed, and the action is obviously much more flexible than the structure of a large ship. Even in the event of a major storm on the sea, you can dive to the bottom of the sea to escape. The advantages are clear. Just use a spindle-shaped structure. Thinking of this, Li Hao no longer hesitated, and directly determined the armor structure of the outer wall of the shelter. After all, submarine-type mobile ocean shelters that can be submerged and floated are obviously much more fragrant than the bulky structure of large ships. It is far superior to large ships in terms of functionality and safety flexibility. Of course, although the advantages are obvious, it is too difficult to build a mobile submarine-type shelter that wraps the entire shelter and has a volume of more than hundreds of thousands of tons, and it is obviously unrealistic for people in other shelters. Only Li Hao, who is a doomsday black technology system and a complete black technology industrial system, dares to play like this. Confirming the design direction of the shelter's renovation, Li Hao immediately started drawing. Open the construction design function of the fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus, and Li Ji entered all the parameters and transformation requirements of his construction and transformation this time. Click deduction. 5 minutes later. A spindle-shaped external armor wall construction drawing came out. The length of its construction alone exceeds 700 meters. After taking a look, Li Hao modified several parameters to make the fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus dig and adjusted again. 3 minutes later, the final shelter's shell armor construction drawings were formed. The shelter renovation drawings are ready, then it's time to get to work. After confirming that the drawings met his requirements perfectly, Li Hao immediately began to act without ink and walked towards the industrial workshop without construction materials. Apparently this renovation shelter can only stay on the drawings. To build this huge armor shell 710 meters long and nearly 100 meters wide, the amount of energy-absorbing alloy required is not a small number, at least hundreds of tons. Before he could start remodeling the shelter, he needed to address the gap in construction materials. Chapter 80 Construction of the Refuge number 039. Shell armor. Come to the industrial workshop. At present, the limit capacity of automated metal furnaces to produce energy-absorbing alloys is 5 tons one day, but the current output cannot reach the maximum, only about 1.5 tons a day. Calculating the current capacity of energy-absorbing alloys, Li Hao thought about it and roughly understood the reason why automated metal furnaces could not reach the maximum capacity. Metal raw materials. Automated metal furnaces produce metal raw materials for energy-absorbing alloys supplied by metal manufacturing furnaces. Metal manufacturing furnaces currently produce about 1.8 tons of metal raw materials per day. The automatic metal furnace uses 1.8 tons of metal raw materials, synthetic energy-absorbing alloys, and only 1.5 tons can be produced after deducting the loss in the manufacturing process. Therefore, in order to maximize the capacity of automated metal furnaces, it is necessary to first provide more metal raw materials for metal manufacturing furnaces. If I'm not mistaken, this small, automated metal-making furnace has a maximum capacity of 2.5 tons a day, and it should be able to use its maximum capacity if more soil is supplied. However, even so, if 510 does not count the losses in the process of manufacturing energy-absorbing alloys in automated metal furnaces, 2.5 tons of metal raw materials are still 2.5 tons away from 5 tons, and in fact, there will only be more. If you want to solve this metal raw material gap, you need to buy a metal manufacturing furnace. In the solution, Li Hao did not hesitate to open the Doomsday Technology Mall and buy a metal manufacturing furnace again. Points, 14,000 points. Although this metal furnace is small like the previous one, the price is 2,000 points more expensive. You get what you pay for, though. The output of this one is much larger than the one bought before, and the limit production reaches 4 tons a day. It is 1.5 tons higher than the previous one. Together, the two metal fabrication furnaces have a limit of 6.5 tons. The metal raw materials supplied are sufficient to keep the automated metal furnace running at full capacity to the maximum capacity, 5 tons. It takes only 24 days to produce 5 tons of energy-absorbing alloys in one day, based on the current estimated 120 tons of shelters. Calculating this time, Li Hao nodded with satisfaction. This production speed is enough to keep up with the renovation of the shelter. After all, building shell armor for an entire shelter is quite a huge amount of work. Obviously not something that can be done in a day or two. Take the purchased metal forging furnace out of the system inventory. Li Hao bought several professional excavation robots to dig the soil, because two metal-making furnaces provided the raw materials needed to make the metal. As the supply of dirt increased, the two metal-making furnaces also began to operate at full power. A steady stream of metal materials is produced. It is then processed into pieces of energy-absorbing alloys by automated metal furnaces. After working on the building materials needed for the renovation of the shelter, Li Hao also began to do with. Looking at the construction drawings designed by the fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus, Li Hao decided to start the renovation from under the shelter. From bottom to top, create enclosed shell armor for the shelter. In this way, it can not only avoid too much impact on the shelter, but also reduce the difficulty of construction. Thinking of this, Li Hao immediately let the small automatic excavator and several newly purchased excavation robots excavate together. It was about to hollow out the dirt under the shelter. However, the amount of earth to be dug under the shelter is nearly 100,000 cubic meters. Even small automated excavators are extremely efficient. They cannot be dug in a short time. And while small automated excavators and BFCF excavators worked, Li Hao was not idle. Let the clone warriors carry the cement and steel stored in the shelter. Subsequently, the working mode of the fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus is turned on. Let the fully automatic multi-purpose mechanical building octopus enter the underground space that the small excavator has just excavated, and start building load-bearing columns to prevent the shelter from tilting due to the lack of support below. For a time, the entire construction site was busy. Today's day should be mainly to open up the underground space under the shelter, otherwise it would be impossible to build shell armor for the underground shelter. Estimating the current construction schedule, Li Hao muttered in the blink of an eye. The day passed. On this day, Li Hao completed the opening of 1/5 of the underground space below the shelter, excavating nearly 20,000 cubic meters of earth. With an ample supply of soil, the metal fabrication furnace is operating at full capacity, producing 6.5 tons of metal feedstock. At the same time, automated metal furnaces turn these metal raw materials into 5 tons of energy-absorbing alloy reserves. March 28, 2021. The Doomsday Forum is still bustling, and many people are struggling to prepare for the arrival of the ocean age and fight for their future survival. In the face of the death threat that does not know when it will come, many people are decadent and collapse, but many more choose to rise to their own rescue and fight for survival. United shipbuilding naturally became the hottest topic on the forum. Without time to pay attention to the disturbances from the outside world, Li Hao continued to work hard, busy preparing for the construction of the large project of the shelter's enclosed shell armor. At the end of the day, 1/5 of the dirt beneath the shelter was dug up again. An additional 5 tons of energy-absorbing alloy reserves were added to the shelter's metal warehouse. 20213298. With the rapid expansion of underground space, the efficiency of the fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus is somewhat unable to keep up. In order not to affect the progress of the project, Li Hao bought a fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus from the Doomsday Black Technology Mall. March 30, 20212202143331. Time flies. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed since Li Hao began busy building the shelter closed shell armor. During these 5 days, Li Hao managed to dig up all the soil under the shelter to open up a rather huge underground space. The reserve of energy-absorbing alloys in the shelter also reached 25 tons. With enough space dug up for renovation construction, the reserve of energy-absorbing alloys was also quite sufficient. All preparations were completed, and Li Hao also officially put the manufacturing of the shelter's closed shell armor on the agenda. Chapter 81. The official strikes. Sea level rises. 202141. With all the preparations, Li Hao officially began work on the manufacture of the shelter's closed shell armor. With the help of 2 fully automatic multi-purpose mechanical building octopuses, Li Hao's progress in building the shelter's sub-enclosed shell armor is also quite fast. It costs 7 or 8 tons of energy-absorbing alloy to build a shell armor with an area of nearly 10,000 square meters. According to the construction drawings of the protective armor wall that were previously deduced and designed, about 1/10 of the armor construction work under the shelter was completed today. After deducting today's consumption and new production, there are currently 22 tons of energy-absorbing alloy reserves in the difficult task. 202142. The outside temperature rose to 12 degrees. Although there's a lot of radiation and the oxygen content has dropped sharply, as long as you wear a radiation protection suit and bring an oxygen cylinder, it is much easier to go out than in the previous ice age. The United shelters also began to loot resources. Occupy pre-apocalyptic metal factories and shipyards to build their own Sea Ark sanctuary before the arrival of the ocean age. However, after the baptism of devastation of the end times, these resources are obviously limited and precious. Due to the large number of monks and the lack of meat, many conflicts broke out between many shelters with different camps in order to seize resources. There were many casualties. In order to survive the impact of the oceanic inverted continent and fight for the chance to survive, chaos has begun to appear. It is foreseeable that unless resources suddenly become abundant, conflicts between shelters will only increase. More and more people will die. But Li Hao didn't pay too much attention to these things. His current energy is focused on building the shelter's enclosed shell armor. With his hard work, the armored casing at the lower part of the shelter already had a fairly pronounced prototype. 202143. As the weather temporarily improved, the outside world became more chaotic. At the Doomsday Forum, from time to time, there will be some shelters competing for metal factories, shipyards, and even shipbuilding talents, causing bloody conflicts. April 4, 2021. Today, 2 joint shelters of a dozen or so shelters have erupted into a large-scale clash over the ownership of a medium-sized shipyard with good equipment, using submachine guns, trolls, and even homemade handmade cannons. The number of participants in the battle exceeded 300. There are even a few live photos on the Doomsday Forum. From the few photos of the scene where the corpses are everywhere and the smoke is filled, you can see how fierce this battle is. It is no different from the Zynga battlefield before the end of the world. In the aftermath of this conflict, chaos seems to be growing. However, fortunately, although most of the official forces are currently used in the grand plan of the Sea Ark, some people lack manpower to maintain order, and their strength is not captured, but the official deterrent is still leveraged. So far, no one has dared to do such a big thing around official shelters or in urban areas. April 5, 2021. The outskirts of the eastern district of Shanghai City, where Li Hao is located, are also hints of chaos. There are several medium-sized private shelters united, wanting to subjugate all the nearby shelters, integrate resources, and build the Sea Ark shelter. Li Hao's refuge was naturally within their reach. This does not. Early this morning, more than 50 young men with guns came to Li Hao's shelter, wanting to force Li Hao to voluntarily give all his resources and become a vassal, slave laborer, of their shelter. In the face of these stinky fools who disturbed the transformation of his shelter, Li Hao naturally asked the clone warriors to send them to hell to report. 20 or so heavily armed clone warriors are on the horse. Killing these people without professional training is naturally a massacre. Even if they were twice the number of clone warriors, they would not have much use for resistance. This battle ended in less than 5 minutes. One clone warrior is not dead, and all enemies are destroyed. In order to make these stupid forks no longer have a chance to disturb themselves, Li Hao also sent No. 1 to lead the team and wipe out all the people in those medium-sized shelters. Get back all the supplies from those medium-sized shelters. Capturing the reserve materials in these medium-sized shelters, Li Hao's material warehouse instantly became several times richer. In other nearby shelters with the same idea, seeing that Li Hao's shelter had such a terrifying strength, and was able to completely destroy those several medium-sized shelters with considerable strength, they were also jealous, asked for flowers. For a time, the area around Li Hao's shelter also became a forbidden place. There is no refuge to provoke again. April 6, 2021. The chaos in the outside world has intensified, and the conflict between the various shelters has become more and more intense. However, official sanctuaries apparently do not want this chaos to spread. Official shelters in many areas began to crack down on the most arrogant and lawless shelters. Under the official force, these usually arrogant refuges could not be resisted, and they were arrested and shot. Troubled times with heavy cannons. Seeing the official determination to maintain basic order, many shelters also had a stake in their hearts and began to spontaneously restrain their actions. In an instant, the chaos seemed to dissipate completely. Of course, this is clearly impossible. The current calm is only temporary. In order to grab resources and build their own Sea Ark, conflicts between shelters will not be less. At most, it is taken officially, and the action will be much smaller. No more heavy weapons such as handmade cannons and homemade bomb canisters. However, this is obviously not Li Hao's business. After all, unlike those shelters, he did not have the ability to smelt and synthesize metals, and he needed to plunder and fight everywhere to build his own Sea Ark. For now, he doesn't lack anything, just need to hold on to other wolves and concentrate on transforming the shelter to deal with a marine crisis that may arise at any time. April 7, 2021. With Li Hao's hard work these days, the shelter's energy-absorbing alloy has all been used up. The new one is still in expedited production. Without the construction materials, Li Hao had no choice but to stop working and rest for a day. Li Hao, who has been idle for the time being, opens the Doomsday Forum to see if anything major has happened recently. Unexpectedly, I accidentally saw a very important piece of information. Shock. According to my recent observation and measurement, the sea level has risen at least 10 meters in these 3 days, and the mouth of the Pure Lane has begun to be flooded by the sea. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novellas. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82. The chaos intensifies, and the construction of the bottom shell armor is completed. Sea levels are rising. Reading this message, Li Hao's face also showed a trace of solemnity. If it weren't for this person's grandstanding, it would indicate that the impact of the lunar shift on the tidal gravity of Blue Star has begun to increase. Not good news. This says that the ocean era is really about to begin. When this tidal gravity increases to the extreme, a large tsunami will sweep it and drown all continents. You can't jump to conclusions based on a post without evidence. If this happens, people in other coastal shelters should find out. After all, a sea level rise of 10 meters can be seen by anyone who was not blind. Closing the post, Li Hao began looking for other posts with similar information, asking for confirmation that the news was true. It didn't take long. Li Hao found several similar posts. 860. Many of them posted photos taken on the spot. In the photo, the seawater is constantly rising, wave after wave, and the momentum is fierce, directly flooding the pier. It seems that this is true, and it is not far from the arrival of the ocean era. I had to hurry up and finish the renovation of the shelter before the arrival of the ocean era. Looking at these photos, Li Hao took a deep breath and a sense of urgency rose in his heart and vein. If it weren't for the lack of energy-absorbing alloy in the shelter, he would have gotten up long ago and continued the renovation of the shelter. The influence of the moon on tidal gravity has only just begun to appear, and the speed of seawater upwelling should not be very fast at first. And although Shanghai City is not a plateau area, it is also far from the coastal area, and it is in the inland area, and the seawater cannot rise here so quickly, and there is still time. Thinking of this, Li Hao, who was a little uncomfortable, also breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Of course, he did not let his guard down in his heart. Almost every hour I look at what's going on at the Doomsday Forum. The results seem to be exactly what he guessed. The upwelling of those seas is not very fast, and at most they are submerged in the port terminals built by the sea. Even those coastal towns show no signs of being submerged by the sea. Seeing this, Li Hao was also relieved. When the automated metal furnace produced enough energy-absorbing alloys, Li Hao can't wait to re-energize the shelter. April 8, 2021. Perhaps influenced by yesterday's news of rising sea levels, today's forum can be described as a dance of demons. Seeing that the ocean era began to show its fangs, many people were horrified in their hearts, but also had a greater sense of urgency. Everyone knows that the arrival of the ocean era has officially begun the countdown. On this day, the competition for shipyards, metal resources, shipbuilding talent suddenly intensified. Many powerful joint shelters began to speed up their pace, plundering everywhere, wanting to speed up the process of building their own sea arcs. The atmosphere at the Doomsday Forum is also becoming more and more tense. Everyone is watching closely to see how fast the sea is rising. April 9, 2021. Yesterday, the seawater went up more than 10 meters again. The port piers were almost all washed away. However, it seems that it will not affect coastal towns and cities in a short period of time. However, many visionaries have begun to move inland with their own shelters. Of course, these are only in sufficient strength. In the coastal areas, powerful shelters are almost not gone. Because the shipbuilding industry in the coastal area is extremely complete, there are still many large ocean-going freighters and ocean-going ships weighing hundreds of thousands of tons on the coast. These are the best ways to survive the first wave of the ocean era. With some modifications, it can serve as a refuge for sea arcs. A sanctuary with great strength will naturally not let these good things go. As soon as the official crisis of the maritime age was issued, these large ocean-going freighters and ocean-going ships were almost all divided up by powerful refuges. However, the number of these large ocean-going vessels and ocean-going ships is clearly limited. And there are many powerful shelters in coastal areas. In this way, there are naturally many powerful shelters that have not been grabbed. Without sanctuary for large ocean-going freighters and ocean-going vessels, it is clearly impossible to immediately unite, directly wanting to rob and devour from the shelters that received large cargo ships and ships. Therefore, fires often occur between large and powerful transports in the coastal areas, and the scale of conflict is quite large. Dying 180 people is a common thing. During this period, there was a lot of news on the Doomsday Forum about the fire and merger of large shelters along the coast. There is no strength to watch a lively scene, and powerful people have already personally entered the coastal area and participated in this feast of partition. Many people are not surprised. And Li Hao is not to mention. Ignoring this information as usual, he continued to renovate the shelter. After all, the large ocean-going freighters and ocean-going ships snatched up by the large shelters along the coast are garbage relative to the submarine-type mobile ocean shelters he is now going to build. Give it to him, he is too burdensome. Once his planned submarine-type mobile ocean shelter is completed, whether it is functionality, comfort, and even safety, it can greatly surpass these sea arc shelters converted from large ocean freighters and ocean liners. And with his efforts to build the bottom shell armor, the submarine-type mobile marine shelter has been almost completely formed. 20214110. I don't know if the lunar deflection suddenly increased, and the sea level suddenly soared by more than 2,000 meters. Many small coastal villages were caught off guard. Fortunately, there were not many casualties. After all, as long as they are not fools, people who live in areas adjacent to the ocean must stay away from the ocean early. However, the acceleration of sea level rise has caused many people to begin to collapse. In the eyes of everyone, the speed of the sea rising is like the pace of death. Now the footsteps of death's drive 4.8 have suddenly accelerated so much, which naturally makes some people who are already psychologically depressed and pessimistic or have poor psychological quality unable to withstand this huge pressure and fall into a state of collapse. An atmosphere of pessimism also began to permeate the Doomsday Forum. If it were not for the official announcement of the existence of the Sea Arc plan, many people still have a glimmer of hope in their hearts, and I am afraid that more people will fall into a state of collapse. However, Li Hao is not affected by these pessimistic atmospheres and continued to focus on the renovation of the shelter in his hands. He was confident that even if only the armor part of the shelter's shell was built, it would be more than enough to survive the impact of the ocean and the land. After nearly 10 days of day and night construction work, he finally completed all the construction work on the bottom shell armor at the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter and began to build the top shell armor at the shelter. Chapter 83. The shell armor is complete. Construction progress of submarine-type mobile marine shelter. April 11, 2021. Affected by the accelerated rise of the sea, the chaos that had been suppressed by the official blow has reappeared and has become more serious. Many shelters are no longer restrained. In the face of the approaching sea, many people have also become crazy. In order to compete for shipbuilding resources, all means were used. Coercion and induction, collision, armed conflict, not to mention grenades, even the handmade cannons that were sealed before were taken out. Some ruthless characters even took out several gunships. In an instant, artillery fire burst into the sky in many areas, and gunfire filled the air. However, this time, the authorities did not use force to forcibly suppress it as before. Now the people in these shelters have become crazy in the face of a huge life-and-death crisis. Unless the official plan for the Ark at Sea can be clearly guaranteed that everyone can enter the Ark at Sea to survive, it is impossible to suppress the chaos by force alone. After all, resistance does not necessarily lead to death, but if you do not resist, you will definitely die, and you will drown alive by the sea. In that case, it is better to give it a go and give it a shot. 15 life. Such a simple multiple-choice question, a fool will choose. As a result, the understood officials are only maintaining order around official shelters and around the city this time, and other areas are no longer turning a blind eye. Seeing this, people in other shelters naturally will not take the official tiger whiskers, and fight and make big moves around the official shelter and near the urban area. The two sides reached a tacit understanding to maintain the most basic order. When the external pattern changes greatly due to the soaring speed of the sea, Li Hao does not have much psychological fluctuations. These things had little effect on him. At most, the suburbs of the eastern district of Shanghai City have become more noisy. After the previous lightweight operation, with the bloody lessons of those medium-sized shelters, as long as the nearby shelters were not iron-headed babies, they should not come to provoke him. After all, to the outside world, his shelter was just an ordinary private refuge. It's not worth the effort. Especially when ordinary private shelters still have strong force. The benefits and risks are completely out of proportion. As such, the area around Li Hao's shelter was so quiet that almost no one bothered him. And Li Hao does not go out, concentrating on staying at home and transforming the shelter. Thanks to his experience in building bottom shell armor, Li Hao has also been able to build top shell armor for submarine-type mobile ocean shelters much faster. In a short period of time, nearly 1/8 of it was completed. If it weren't for the fact that some of the building materials couldn't keep up, it wouldn't even be able to accomplish more. April 12, 2021. The sea continues to rise, and the speed is steadily accelerating. Although the magnitude is not large at present, the seawater has begun to approach coastal towns. April 13, 2021. Some towns closer to the coast began to be gradually submerged by the sea. April 14, 2021. Time passes. In the blink of an eye. It was April 18, 2021. These days, rising sea levels have completely flooded towns and cities, begun to flood coastal cities, and gradually approaching inland areas. In the face of this looming and unstoppable super disaster, there are more and more scratches. Under great pressure to survive, many of the weaker shelters abandoned their loose temporary alliances and began to merge themselves, integrating all their forces to compete with those powerful shelters for resources, grab talents, and even snatch those Sea Ark shelters under construction. Especially the coastal areas. With ready-made large ocean-going freighters and ocean-going ships, the transformation of the Sea Ark shelter has long been completed. Although the number of these Sea Ark shelters converted from large ocean-going freighters and ocean-going ships is not very large, due to its huge size, each ship is not a problem for hundreds of thousands of people to survive. In order to compete for these precious Sea Ark refuges, the armed conflicts that broke out in the coastal areas were simply innumerable. Many shelters joined forces to besiege these shelters holding the Sea Ark shelters. Caught off guard, those shelters holding the shelters of the Sea Ark also suffered heavy losses. Only a few super powerful shelters held their Sea Ark shelters. Other Ark shelters at sea that lost their holders were looted by other shelters. It has changed hands several times, but there's no shelter that can be owned for a long time. Because no matter which shelter occupies the Sea Ark shelter, the next moment it will be besieged by other shelters. The smoke spreads almost non-stop. Many areas are in a massive porridge. Only near official shelters and urban areas barely maintain some order. Ignoring the chaos in the outside world, Li Hao only pays attention to the rate of sea rise every day, so he estimates the time when the seawater radar reaches Shanghai City. Then, I continue to focus on the renovation of the shelter. Thanks to his efforts, the top shell armor of the submarine-type mobile ocean avoidance 660 was finally completed. Since then, the shell armor part of the submarine-type mobile marine shelter has been completed. An extremely large, spindle-like shaped metal monster appeared in the underground space on the outskirts of the eastern district of Shanghai City. Finally done. Looking at the incomparably spectacular black shell armor in front of him, Li Hao nodded in satisfaction. This is the result of his day and night work for nearly a month. The shell of the submarine-type mobile marine shelter is partially completed, and it is time to get the power system and operating system, as well as the radar system. After confirming that there were no flaws in the shell part, Li Hao silently pondered. The indestructible shell only ensures that the shelter can safely withstand the impact of the seawater rolling back on the continent. At best, it is just an immovable iron coffin. Only with the addition of the operating system and power system can it become a true submarine-type mobile marine shelter. Radar systems are just as important. After all, sailing at the bottom of the sea, the deeper the light, the dimmer the light, and there will not even be the slightest light in the real deep sea. This is where the importance of radar systems is highlighted. Without a radar system, the submarine-type mobile marine shelter can only be blind after entering the deep sea, and eventually get lost in the deep sea. Chapter 84 Primary Artificial Intelligence, Nuclear Power Vector Engine. Let's see how many points I have in my hand. Whether it is the power system, the operating system, and the radar system, it needs the scientific and technological support in the Doomsday Black technology mold. Otherwise, I would not have been able to complete the construction of these three systems in a short period of time. Thinking of this, Li Hao opened his system panel to check his point balance. Host: Li Hao with Black technology. Automated metal furnace, clone manufacturing cabin, super 3D printer bed. Point balance: 105,640 points. 105,640 points. Seeing this huge number that had never been seen before, Li Hao's face also showed a hint of surprise. How could it be so much? Although he has not used points for nearly a month, it is impossible for him to accumulate so many points. With doubts, Li Hao clicked on the task log to check the latest survival point settlement. After some inspection, Li Hao found that most of his huge points came from the shell construction of the submarine-type mobile marine shelter. Especially after the construction was completed, he directly obtained 20,000 points at one time. As for the small part that remains, it comes from knowing all kinds of disaster information in daily life. More than 100,000 points. Such a large amount of points should be enough to build the power system, operating system, and radar system. Thinking like this, Li Hao opened the Doomsday Black technology mall with great interest and began to select the goods he needed. After some sifting, Li Hao quickly found what he needed. Elementary Artificial Intelligence, Shipborne Type. Medium Nuclear Powered Vector Engine. Super Pulse Array Detection Radar. Primary Artificial Intelligence, Shipborne Type. Introduction. A product derived from digital science, specializing in the development of artificial intelligence for driving various mobile vehicles, with anthropomorphic thinking, but without any emotions, absolutely loyal to the authority binder. Medium Nuclear Power Vector Engine. Introduction. The scientific and technological creation derived from energy conversion, built a nuclear power energy furnace, not only can be used for hundreds of years, but the power generated by its energy conversion is also enough to promote the rapid movement of vehicles weighing thousands of tons. Super Pulse Array Detection Radar. Introduction. The super radar developed based on an advanced laser pulse technology can easily detect everything within 1,000 kilometers and consume very little energy. These three technology products are all good things carefully selected by Li Hao. Among them, there is no need to talk about shipborne primary artificial intelligence. Using carrier-based primary artificial intelligence to take over submarine-type mobile ocean refuge is obviously faster than any operating system, and it can also realize automated driving. It suits him, a novice who has never flown a marine vehicle such as a submarine. The medium-sized nuclear-powered vector engine, on the other hand, is powerful enough to propel hundreds of speeds. It also makes it more flexible to move. It is simply the best choice for the submarine-type mobile marine refuge power system. Note: vector engines are different from normal engines. The vector engine is able to change the direction of the nozzle, thereby directly changing the direction of thrust, making the movement of the shelter more flexible. As for the Super Pulse Array Detection Radar, while the energy consumption is low, the detection range reaches a huge range of 1,000 kilometers. A radar system suitable for submarine-type mobile ocean shelters. After choosing these three black technology products, Li Hao was dumbfounded after adding up their prices. 139,600 points. The price of these three pieces combined turned out to be so expensive. The 100,000 points I accumulated during this time are not enough to use it. Coming back to his senses, Li Hao shook his head with a wry smile on his face, and sighed with some emotion. I thought I had become a small rich man. I didn't expect to be a poor ghost. You know, in order to prevent the price from exceeding his affordability, he selects the most cost-effective when screening technology props. As a result, these 3 technology products add up and he still can't afford them. The more advanced the technology products, the more expensive. Among the 3 science and technology products, the shipborne primary artificial intelligence needs more than 60,000 points, the medium nuclear power vector engine needs more than 40,000 points, and the cheapest is the super pulse array detection radar, which only needs more than 30,000 points. For now, my points are only enough to pick 2 of these 3 technology products for the time being. Thinking of this, Li Hao thought in his heart, not enough points. Then buying 2 technology products first is the only option of present. First, buy a carrier-based primary artificial intelligence and a medium-sized nuclear-powered vector engine, and get the operating system and power system of the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter. After thinking for a moment, Li Hao also made a decision in his heart. All 3 systems are an important component of submarine-type mobile ocean shelters. But carrier-based primary AI and medium nuclear-powered vector engines are clearly a little higher priority. After all, only by completing the operating system and power system can the mobile marine shelter be activated. Otherwise, if you can't move, even if you buy a super pulse array detection radar, what is the use of completing the radar system? Therefore, he could only choose 2 technology props for the time being, and eliminated the super pulse array detection radar first. Wait until the points are enough to buy it. Thinking of this, Li Hao did not hesitate to buy the carrier-based primary artificial intelligence and medium nuclear-powered vector engine. Then, walked towards the room at the back of the shelter. No, the submersible ocean shelter. There was the power chamber he reserved when he built the shell armor. Specially installed empty. Enter the power room. Take the medium, Li Hao, nuclear-powered vector engine out of the system inventory for patrol. I saw a 3-meter high, 8-meter wide, and 10-meter long eye-shaped engine appear in front of Li Hao's eyes. Its exterior is silver white, and there are countless extremely precise bearing gears inside, which looks like a sense of futuristic technology. Looking at the parameters of the label above, Li Hao found that this thing weighed a little exaggeratedly, weighing nearly 20 tons. No way, Li Hao can only let the fully automatic multifunctional mechanical construction octopus act as a porter, and put this heavyweight medium-sized nuclear-powered vector engine into the reserved engine slot in the power compartment. It is then secured with a giant holder made of energy-absorbing alloy. The powertrain is done. Now it's time to get the operating system. Confirming that the medium-sized nuclear-powered vector engine was completely fixed in the engine slot, Li Hao nodded in satisfaction. Immediately, he walked out of the power room and turned towards the direction of the shelter control station. Chapter 85 Artificial Intelligence. Jarvis come to the control console. Li Hao takes the shipborne primary AI out of the system inventory. A black box 2 meters tall appeared in front of Li Hao. Li Hao was puzzled. The physical object of the shipborne primary artificial intelligence was really a little unexpected to him. He thought it would be a U-disk containing a shipborne primary artificial intelligence program. Unexpectedly, it will be a strange big black box that comes out. Curious, Li Hao opened the system and clicked on the properties panel of the big black box. Small super biological computer master. Unnamed shipborne primary artificial intelligence, absolute authority owner. Li Hao, function. Super data operation, super data storage, extremely fast data reading, computing speed. 811 million times per second. Introduction. This small super biological computer is the home of a shipborne primary artificial intelligence. Note. Under the same circumstances, the computing speed of biological computers are 100,000 times faster than that of ordinary computers 183, and the energy consumption is only 100 million times that of ordinary computers. Buy one get one free. Buy carrier-based primary artificial intelligence to send small super biological computers. Knowing what this big black box was, Li Hao's face also showed a hint of surprise and surprise. He didn't expect such a good thing to happen. You know, even if a super biological computer is a small model, it costs nearly 30,000 points in the Doomsday Technology Mall. That is, he prostituted 30,000 points in vain. System, what's going on? Is this a mall error? Although he was pleasantly surprised, under doubt, Li Hao still planned to inquire. After all, he didn't believe in such a good thing as pie in the sky. Normally, this pie is either poisonous or hides. It's better to ask clearly. System. Ding. Test complete. There is no mistake in the operation of the Doomsday Technology Mall, and the shipborne primary artificial intelligence purchased by the host actually includes small super-biological computers! Without this level of supercomputer auxiliary, BFCH, assisted computing, the shipborne primary artificial intelligence cannot operate normally. So it is. I said, how could there be such a good thing as buy one get one free? Hearing this, Li Hao also suddenly realized in his heart. Originally, he thought that the technological content of the carrier-based primary artificial intelligence program was much higher than that of the nuclear-powered vector engine, which is why the price was so expensive. Unexpectedly, the purchase price of more than 60,000 points of shipborne primary artificial intelligence actually includes two goods: shipborne primary artificial intelligence programs and small super-biological computers. Among them, the small super-biological computer needs nearly 30,000 points to buy, and the remaining three parties are really used to purchase shipborne primary artificial intelligence programs. But no loss, blood earned. Li Hao had a smile on his face. After all, he originally thought that he could only get shipborne primary artificial intelligence. Now that the result is an extra small super-biological computer. Although he actually bought this thing, it was a complete surprise in his heart. Rounded down, about equal to white. According to the use method attached to this small super-biological computer, you only need to connect it to the power supply and connect the data cable. Using energy-absorbing LEDs to temporarily create a stationary cabinet, Li Hao put this 2-meter-high big black box into it, and then buckled it with a fixed lock to prevent it from shaking and colliding with other things. Then, connect the power supply and connect the data cable. Multiply. 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 The light on the big black box, that is, the super-biological computer, lit up in vain. After a few flashes, the display on the main console lit up in vain, and countless data streams quickly washed away. Startup complete. Start the self-test. Self-test complete. The algorithm is working fine. Hello, my master. A cold mechanical voice came out of the stereo. Obviously, with the launch of small super-biological computers, shipborne primary artificial intelligence has also started to operate, successfully connected to the network of submarine-type mobile ocean shelters. Don't call me master, call me sir. You will be called Jarvis from now on. To get the first real artificial intelligence, Li Hao was also a little excited, and directly named it Jarvis. This is the name of the artificial intelligence butler created by Iron Man. Of course, Jarvis and Iron Man gave birth to real human emotions, and its level is obviously much higher than that of a shipborne primary AI with only anthropomorphic thinking logic. However, as long as Li Hao is willing to spend points to improve, the future level of this shipborne primary artificial intelligence will definitely be able to surpass Jarvis and Iron Man. Openhanging is so confident. Yes. Jarvis's unwavering mechanical voice sounded again. Jarvis, did you take over the shelter's control console? Knowing that Jarvis did not have human emotions now, Li Hao did not care and asked casually. Although he was a little excited about getting the magical data life of artificial intelligence, he did not forget his original purpose of buying ship-based primary artificial intelligence, to let the shipborne artificial intelligence take over the control station and assist him in controlling the entire submarine-type mobile ocean shelter. Jarvis. No. Without my husband's authorization, I did not have the authority to take over the main desk of the shelter. I give you authorization. Now access the control console to control the electronic facilities and equipment of the entire shelter. Li Hao spoke. Jarvis. Authorized by those with absolute authority, start accessing the vault control headquarters. Access successful, get control permission. Detection of the electronic facilities of the shelter, the operation of electronic equipment, The automated farming system for agricultural plantations is working properly, industrial workshop all industrial facilities are operating normally, the power compartment nuclear power vector engine is operating normally. Sir, I have full control of the shelter. If you're given control over piloting a submarine-type mobile ocean shelter, there is no problem, right? Seeing Jarvis complete the takeover of the shelter in just a few seconds, Li Hao's eyes flashed, and he was even more looking forward to Jarvis's driving ability. After all, Jarvis is a shipborne artificial intelligence specially developed for piloting various large mobile vehicles. Chapter 86 Invasion of the Official Server, Lunar Offset Analysis Report. Jarvis. No problem. My initial data cover has tens of millions of built-in driving information for various large mobile vehicles, and although the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter is much larger than a normal submarine, it is not much different from the driving point of view. However, the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter currently lacks a radar system, and I can't detect and perceive the outside world. According to the data calculations, when driving mobile in this case, there is a high probability of collision. Hearing this, Li Hao is not disappointed either. This is to be expected. Today's submarine-type mobile marine shelter is like a disabled person, with a brain, artificial intelligence, and hands and feet, nuclear-powered vector engines, but without the eyes, radar, the perception organ. In this blind situation, blindly moving around is obviously an extremely dangerous thing. It seems that it is necessary to buy radars as soon as possible, otherwise the shelter will not be able to move at all. Li Hao shook his head and opened the system panel to check his remaining points balance. Point balance: 2,560 points after buying the primary artificial intelligence and nuclear-powered vector engine. I only have 2,000 points left and more than 100,000 points. The shipborne primary artificial intelligence costs 61,080 points, and the nuclear-powered vector engine costs 42,000. The sum of the two directly turns his 6-digit 105,640 points into a 4-digit 2,560 points. It seems that it is far from the more than 30,000 points required to purchase a super-pulsar ray detection radar, and it is not even enough for a fraction of the back according to the speed of point accumulation on weekdays. It is estimated that it will take at least nearly 20 days to obtain this point. However, I completed the power system and operating system of the shelter today, and these two survival performances should be able to settle at least 15,000 points tomorrow. Coupled with the more than 2,000 points left in me, then the more than 30,000 points that are far from purchasing the super pulsar ray detection radar should be only half, that is, 17,000 points. In this way, it only takes about 10 days to take down the super pulsar ray detection radar. Li Hao's brows furrowed slightly. Still a little slow. 10 days is too long. Who knows if the rapidly rising seawater in these 10 days will directly rush to Shanghai City. If you want to get more points quickly, you need more survival performance, and the better the survival performance, the more survival points you settle daily. So, is there anything I can do now that is relevant to my survival? Li Hao pondered. Although he wants more points, the survival events he can do so far seem to be all done. Now the shelter is self-sufficient and there's almost nothing missing. He paid attention to the rising waters of the disaster information about his survival every day. Regarding the renovation of the shelter, he also did a good job. It really seems that there's nothing to do. Wait, actually, there is. As if thinking of something, Li Hao turned his gaze to Jarvis. Jarvis, can you sneak into the official server and steal designated files through satellite signals? Li Hao asked. Jarvis. Yes. However, you can only hack into servers connected to satellite signals, and you cannot hack servers that are not connected to the internet, and keywords are required to steal specific files. Enough. Jarvis, secretly hacking into official servers, steal files with keywords called lunar deflection. Li Hao ordered without hesitation. That's right, he wanted to use Jarvis' data capabilities to obtain official secret documents and figured out the details of the lunar shift. This will not only increase the survival performance settlement event, but also give him a deeper understanding of the current disaster situation. Kill two birds with one stone. With Li Hao's orders, Jarvis also got to work. Through a small integrated signal base station inside the shelter, it is connected to the official communication satellite. He then used it as a springboard to start secretly hacking into the official server. As an effort making artificial intelligence life, Jarvis' data capabilities are extremely powerful. With the West's current computer technology, almost no firewall can stop it, or even detect Jarvis's intrusion. A minute later. Jarvis. The invasion was successful, and the file with all the keywords named lunar offset was copied and stolen. Asked for flowers. The voice fell, and folders appeared on a huge display of the control console. There are hundreds of them. Retrieve files in these files that have a recent record of modifications. Li Hao ordered again. He believes that the official will never ignore the lunar deflection, and there will be professionals every day who will continue to record the data parameters of the exploration satellite for the lunar deflection and analyze the consequences of its occurrence. In this way, the date of the folder's modification record must also be recent. As long as he finds a file with a recent record of modifications, he will definitely find what he needs. The voice fell. Jarvis quickly completed the search. On the large display, only two folders were eventually left. 0. A report called Lunar Offset Parameter Recording and a Daily Lunar Offset Analysis Estimation Report. The date of modification is all today. Found it. Looking at the two folders, Li Hao hid a smile on his face. Have Jarvis open both folders. After a few glances, Li Hao closed the folder called Lunar Offset Parameter Records. As a non-professional, he couldn't understand these complicated parameters or what they represented. It is also for nothing to see. Might as well just look at the daily lunar shift analysis estimate. After reading this analysis and estimation report, Li Hao also has a deeper understanding and grasp of the current disaster. According to this analysis report, the current lunar deflection is already quite serious, and in 5 days there will be an increase in tidal gravity, when the sea level rise rate will accelerate by a large margin, and the seawater will directly flood the coastal area and sweep inland. However, fortunately, Shanghai City is located at the end of the inland area. Even if the sea rises again, it will take at least 15 days to arrive, and if it is completely submerged, it will take longer. 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 6 PS. This chapter is a new chapter. Recently the results of this book have become a lot better. The data is also better. The author is full of motivation to write. Thank you book friends for supporting Zero all the way. Chapter 87 Shocked. The big secret contained in the giant meteorite. Unless the lunar deflection suddenly intensifies, with the location of my current city, the seawater should not be reachable in 15 days. Coming to this conclusion, Li Hao immediately breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. The unknown is the scariest. Previously, he paid attention to the rise of the sea on the doomsday forum every day, and found that its rising rate was increasing, and he had no bottom in his heart. Worried about when the sea will hit Shanghai City. An official analysis of the lunar deflection is now available. Having the more reliable reference data and being able to deduce the approximate time made him feel much more at ease. That's right. If you can get more detailed information about the giant meteorite from the official, you should also increase the survival performance event and get more points. 0.20. A little more points can also go one closer step to the number of points required to purchase a super pulsar detection radar. After touring the information about the lunar deflection, Li Hao had an idea in his mind again. The lunar deflection was tied to his survival. Other disasters are no exception. Especially the giant meteorite. The current super disasters and blue star are all brought about by the giant meteorite. Whether it is the ice age, solar radiation, or global hypoxia, in the upcoming ocean era, it is the huge impact directly or indirectly caused by the giant meteorite. There may be more in the future. Jarvis, continue to hack into official servers and steal files related to the keyword called giant meteorite. Thinking of this, Li Hao ordered again. Receiving Li Hao's orders, Jarvis sprang into action again. With the last invasion, Jarvis is even more familiar this time. In just a few seconds, I was back on the official server. A minute later. Jarvis. The invasion was successful, and all the folders named giant meteorites were copied and stolen, a total of 521. With the sound of the mechanical sound without fluctuations, one folder after another appeared on the huge display of the control console. It has been more than half a year since the giant meteorite fell. The official should not often modify the folders of these giant meteorites, which means that the method of judging valuable documents by modification date may not work. Looking at these more than 500 folders, Li Hao also has a bit of a headache. This has to see when. Jarvis, the creation date of these files is listed from closest to farthest, with the folder closest to the present time first. After thinking about it, Li Hao also had an idea. Judging from the regularity of survey records. Generally speaking, the creation date is the closest to the current time, that is, the folder with the lowest creation time after the meteorite falls, which is likely to be the final summary file. He intends to start directly with the summary documents of the giant meteorite to see what subsequent effects the giant meteorite fragments have caused after the fall, and which ones may evolve into a super disaster like the deflection of the moon. The voice fell. Justs, who received the order, quickly completed the job. On the large display, all giant meteorite related folders are arranged by creation date, with the further back the creation time, the higher the list. Giant meteorite unknown radiation research report. Looking at the name of the folder arranged in the first place, Li Hao's face also showed a hint of surprise. This is completely different from what he imagined in his mind. The first one should be the follow-up impact report of the giant meteorite. Take a look at when this folder was created. He found out a week ago. Looking at this time, there should have been a similar research report document before. Let Jarvis search for the set of keywords for giant meteorite radiation. Sure enough. In addition to this one, there are 15 similar folders. Apparently, officials have been studying the radiation from this giant meteorite. Could it be that there is some secret of the unknown radiation contained in this giant meteorite? Seeing this, Li Hao also came with a hint of interest. Open the files and look up. The more he looked, the heavier the expression on Li Hao's face. After reading the research report file in the last folder, Li Hao's face couldn't help but show a hint of shock. He also did not expect that he let Jarvis invade the official server to steal the giant meteorite-related documents, and unexpectedly unearthed such a big secret. It turns out that the unknown radiation brought by giant meteorites is such a magical effect. According to these research documents, the giant meteorite is a huge source of radiation that contains some unknown radiation. These unknown radiations have the effect of allowing organisms to evolve rapidly. The faster the test is going to evolve. And human genes seem too complex and stable. Therefore, these unknown radiation has little effect on human beings, almost imperceptible, and long-term exposure will even have some harm, similar to genetic diseases. Severe cases can trigger a genetic breakdown. According to the above research report, the official purpose should be to obtain the secret of evolution by studying the principle of these unknown radiations to evolve human genes. Sorting through the information obtained so far, Li Hao made a deduction. After all, this kind of radiation that allows organisms to evolve quickly is too amazing. If it weren't for Li Hao's possession of the Doomsday Black technology mall, his ability to easily obtain countless biological evolution technologies, and his own enhancement of low-level gene potions, he would also be interested in this 5.0 points. This is genetic evolution, one of the greatest mysteries of living things. Human genes haven't evolved for years. Now seeing the key that may open the evolution of human genes, who would be willing to let it go without trying? I don't know what step the official research has become, what research results are therefore. Thinking like this, Li Hao was also very curious in his heart. Looking at the folders related to the giant meteorite that Jarvis stole and copied. This time, Li Hao did not find any folders related to the research results of giant meteorite radiation. Disheartened, Li Hao once again ordered Jarvis, hack into the official server, steal files related to the keyword name evolution or evolutionary radiation. Chapter 88 Great Evolution of Marine Life. A minute later. Jarvis. The invasion was successful, and after retrieval, there was no file with the keyword name evolution or evolutionary radiation in the target network server. Didn't you? Li Hao's brows furrowed slightly. Even if there are no research results, there should be research progress information. Could it be that the keyword for unknown radiation in the official server is not evolution or evolutionary radiation? Thinking of this possibility, Li Hao directly asked Jarvis to retrieve all the folders related to meteorite radiation in the official server. However, there is still none. Although he got a lot of research reports on meteorite radiation, the content information of these research reports was similar to the research report he had seen before, and no new information appeared at all. Not to mention the specific research results and research progress documents on meteorite radiation. It simply doesn't exist. It seems that the specific research results and research progress documents of those meteorite radiation are very important, and they are not stored in network servers at all, but in closed servers that are physically disconnected. Seeing this, Li Hao had to give up his intention to wipe meteorite radiation research results from the official. After all, the 15 closed servers that are physically disconnected are an island of information, with no equipment parts that link to external networks. Even if Jarvis is awesome in the online world, it is impossible to create something out of thin air and directly forcibly access a closed server without network connection equipment. Knowing this, Li Hao naturally did not continue to waste his efforts. Made Jarvis copy all the valuable files from the official network server. Li Hao also wended the hack to the official server. Although there is no more valuable information, from the information currently in hand, the giant meteorite is a huge radiation source, and it is an undoubted fact that the radiation attached to it has an evolutionary effect, and the lower the gene, the faster the biological evolution. And if I'm not mistaken, the information stolen from the official server shows that after this giant meteorite was shattered, countless fragments fell into the blue star. Only a very small part of it was officially recovered, and most of the remaining meteorite fragments all entered the blue star ocean. In other words, a great biological evolution may have begun in the blue star ocean. Sitting on a leather chair, Li Hao carefully pondered the possible impact of the information obtained this time, and a trace of solemnity flashed on his face. Although this is only his guess, it is most likely a fact. After all, meteorite debris fell into the ocean in large quantities, and it is impossible for the accompanying evolutionary radiation not to affect the organisms in the ocean. According to the theory that the lower the gene, the faster the evolution of organisms, the speed of evolution of those marine organisms is probably also terrifying. Now that more than half a year has passed, perhaps a group of marine self-blamers have evolved in the depths of the ocean similar to those often seen in science fiction movies. SHHH. Thinking of this possibility, Li Hao couldn't help but gasp. This giant meteorite is really a super catastrophe star. I thought that the ice age, solar radiation, global lack of oxygen, and the upcoming ocean age were all the effects of giant meteorites. Unexpectedly, there was such a big pit in its subsequent impact. After entering the ocean era, humans will not only have to deal with the vagaries of weather and supplies on the sea, but may also face the attack of a group of deep-sea monsters that are rapidly evolving. It's outrageous. This is simply a step-by-step crisis. Hellish difficulty! But for now, that's just my guess. Maybe the evolution of marine life is not so fast at all, or the evolutionary effect of meteorite radiation is not as strong as I thought. After all, I don't have official research results on meteorite radiation in my hands, and I don't know how strong the evolutionary effect of meteorite radiation is. It's just a waste of time. I just need to know about this possible source of disaster. Soldiers come to block, water to cover. I have a black technology system. Even if those deep-sea monsters really appear, I can live well. Thinking of this, Li Hao is also full of confidence in his heart. He is a man with gold fingers. Only with enough points, let alone a deep-sea troll, even if it is a starry sky giant. He used black technology to bombard him to death. Keeping this catastrophic speculation about the evolution of marine life in mind, Li Hao got up and stretched, leaving and walking towards the living room. It is time to eat. The day flies by. 6 o'clock in the morning. Li Hao opened his eyes on time and opened the system log for the first time. In the next second, a translucent virtual screen appeared in vain in front of his eyes. Doomsday Survival, Long-Term Mission. Today's mission reward settlement completed. Survival performance. You complete the inspection of the armor at the submarine-type mobile marine shelter shell for plus 500 points. You complete the power system of the submarine-type mobile marine shelter with plus 8,000 points. You use the carrier-based primary A group as the operating system to complete the control of the entire submarine-type mobile ocean shelter with plus 9,000 points. You use artificial intelligence Jarvis to hack into official servers, steal specific information about the recent deflection of the moon, and roughly estimate the speed of ocean rewinding, plus 1,000 points. You use artificial intelligence Jarvis to obtain giant meteorite information, but accidentally discovered a big secret. The radiation attached to giant meteorites is the role of evolving biological genes, with a score at plus 1,000 through the analysis of the stolen official server data. You guess that a biological evolution may be taking place in the ocean. 680 This is likely to evolve into a future catastrophe. Plus 2,000 You eat 3 meals a day, steadily consume energy, and maintain a balanced body nutrition. Plus 20 points to go into a deep sleep, refreshed, and the physical energy consumed yesterday is fully restored. Plus 30 points. Congratulations to the host for earning 22,580 points. 22,580 points. Looking at this number, Li Hao also showed a smile of surprise on his face. Completing the operating system and power system of the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter earned 2,000 more survival points than he expected. In addition, he used Jarvis' data ability to hack into the official server yesterday to obtain a lot of information and secrets about the catastrophe. The number of points he got today was much more than he estimated yesterday. Together with the remaining 2,560 points yesterday, I now have more than 25,000 points in my hands, which is only more than 10,000 points away from purchasing the super pulsar ray detection radar. This early 10,000 odd points, with the weekly point accumulation rate, can be accumulated in only 7 or 8 days. It seems that soon the radar system of the shelter will be completed. Thinking like this, Li Hao also showed a satisfied smile on his face. As long as the radar system is in place, the renovation of the shelter is basically completed. A submarine-type mobile ocean shelter with potential is enough to keep him alive and well in the coming ocean era. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelas. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89 The Ocean Era enters the countdown. The radar system is completed. April 20, 2021 The rising waters have flooded most coastal cities, forming a huge wave heading inland towns. In the face of this approaching super disaster, the pessimism on the doomsday forum has become even stronger. More and more people are falling into collapse. Under such circumstances, all the shelters that are building the Sea Ark have also begun to search for resources more furiously, wanting to build the Sea Ark shelter as soon as possible and get a chance to survive. The smoke of the battle grew thicker. The competition for shipyards, metal resources, and shipbuilding talents is also becoming more and more intense. Just when the external situation became more and more tense and lively, Li Hao was the opposite. After finishing the renovation work on the shelter, Li Hao, who had nothing to do, could only watch movies, play games, and pass the time with Shazushi's 3 daughters. It looks extremely tense laid back. There is no sense of imminent disaster at all, and compared with the atmosphere outside, it is simply abrupt to the extreme. It's like people from two worlds. April 21, 2021 All coastal cities are submerged by the sea. The shelters in those coastal areas also ended the war, and boarded those large ocean-going freighters and large ships converted into Sea Ark shelters. However, shelters in inland areas do not have such good luck. There are no ready-made large ocean-going freighters and large steamers. Unless you are lucky enough to find a large ship in the shipyard that is about to be built, you will have to slowly build it from scratch yourself. And obviously the vast majority of people don't have this kind of good luck. Therefore, most of the Sea Arks built in the inland shelters are currently only half finished and have not yet been fully completed. Under increasing pressure from disasters, in order to be able to complete the manufacture of the Sea Ark as soon as possible, many shelters also no longer hesitated official deterrence, and began to plunder the shipbuilding resources of other shelters in the city. The last shred of order under the apocalypse was also destroyed. Now even the official intervention cannot stop the fight between these shelters. After all, no one is willing to give up hope of survival. The real mess began. April 22, 2021 As the moon's deflection increases, not only does the sea continue to rise, but the atmosphere of blue star is also getting thinner. The sunlight entering the blue star is also getting stronger and stronger. The outside temperature has now risen rapidly to 30 degrees and continues to rise. April 23, 2021 According to Li Hao's previous official lunar deflection analysis report, there will be a surge in tidal gravity today. Sure enough, 305 the rate of sea level rise suddenly increased several times, and the sea began to rush into some towns in the interior. However, the official shelter organized the evacuation of the population earlier, but there were not many casualties. It's just that as the speed of the sea rises again, the battle for plunder between the shelters become more and more intense. In many areas, the artillery fire was continuous and there was almost no stop. It's all about grabbing shipbuilding resources. April 24, 2021 Blessings are incomparable, and calamities are not one-sided. Yesterday, the rate of seawater rise soared several times. Today, the weather suddenly turned cloudy, and there was a particularly heavy rainstorm in the small half of the summer country. Obviously, with the rapid rise in temperature, Blue Star is about to enter a period of frequent rainstorms. Under the washing of this exceptionally heavy rainstorm, many towns and cities were hit by large mudslides, and the losses were not small. 2,021,425 According to this analysis report, there are up to 10 days before the ocean will completely submerge the continent. So far, the official Sea Ark plan has only been completed by 50%, building 250 square kilometer mobile steel islands and more than 4,000 sea steel ships. The total number of people that can accommodate will not exceed 200 million. Looking at the file that Jarvis had just taken from the official server on the screen, Li Hao was also a little silent. In 10 days, I am afraid that it will be difficult for the official Ark at Sea plan to make great progress. In such a short time, it would be nice to be able to build hundreds of offshore steel giants. In this way, the officially built Sea Ark can only hold at most 200 million people. That is, at least hundreds of millions of people will not be able to board the official Ark at sea. These hundreds of millions of people need to survive this marine disaster on their own. It seems that the officials are also aware of the manufacturing progress of the Sea Ark plan, and it is impossible to let most people board the ship, so they allow those shelters to plunder shipbuilding resources and make their own Sea Ark. Looking back, Li Hao also guessed the intention of the official laissez-faire these days. Since it is impossible to save them all, it is obvious that those people can only save themselves. In this way, maybe some people can survive. Otherwise, when the seawater rolls up and floods the mainland, those who cannot board the ship will definitely die under the impact of the sea. Blue Star will enter the ocean age in 10 days, so the official shelters should begin to evacuate in these days. In that case, I have to prepare early. Opening the points balance panel, Li Hao looked at the 34,000 points displayed on the panel, and his eyes flashed. April 26, 2021 Official shelters in various regions of the Xia Kingdom began to evacuate the plateau in an orderly manner. During the evacuation, only the most elite people in that area were taken away. Losing official deterrence control, knowing that they have been abandoned, the situation in all regions is out of control. After building the shelter of the Sea Ark, in order to survive in the future in the ocean age of the King of No, he began to attack other shelters and loot and hoard various supplies. In order to complete the Sea Ark as soon as possible, he began to plunder the shipbuilding resources of other shelters without scruples and speed up their own construction. In order to survive, the shelters that failed to build the Sea Ark were united and frantically attacked other shelters with Sea Arks, hoping to rob the built Sea Ark. Under such circumstances, the entire Xia Kingdom fell into extreme chaos. The smoke spread to almost every corner of Xia country. Ignoring the extremely chaotic situation in the outside world, Li Hao used the 35,000 points accumulated during this time to buy the Super Pulsar Ray Detection Radar and completed the radar system of the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter. Since then, the basic renovation of the shelter has been completed. At this time, there are less than 9 days left before the ocean floods the continent. Chapter 90 Crazy Refugee Freshwater Problem April 27, 2021 Sea levels continue to rise, flooding some inland towns, and many people who did not have a sea arc and no official boarding qualifications began to flee deeper inland. However, everyone knows that this kind of escape is not very meaningful at all. At most it can only delay their time of death. Wherever they escape, the rising waters will eventually catch up until they inundate all continents. Although the heavens and the earth are big, there is nowhere to hide. Unless they can get an ark at sea, they will have a chance to survive. 2021-428 The sea crosses inland towns and heads towards inland cities. More and more people are fleeing deeper inland. In order to survive, these refugees, who had nothing left, began to band together and storm the shelters where the arcs of the sea were in hand. Attempt to fight hard and seize the arc of the sea to get a chance to survive. But the sanctuaries that own the arcs of the sea were clearly not good to go along with. After all, to be able to build a sea arc in this environment, the strength of each force should not be underestimated, otherwise it would have been eaten by other shelters with belt bones. These powerful shelters naturally could not allow the escapees to seize their hope of survival, and directly and mercilessly launched attacks on the unceasing refugees, and 403 tried to use force to forcibly suppress and deter this group of people. However, this is clearly of no use. Facing the impact of a marine disaster, all the fleeing people have become extremely crazy. Allowing those sanctuaries with sea arcs to slaughter many people, they will not retreat. After all, if you don't fight again, it will be too late when the marine natural disaster completely arrives. Resistance does not necessarily mean death. You may be able to seize a sea arc and get a chance to survive, but if you do not resist, you will definitely drown in the sea. In this case, everyone will give it a go. The scene appeared in every corner of Xia country. There are successes, but more often there are failures. Many shelters have become extremely tragic battlefields. The frenzied fleeing fleas have brought chaos to the extreme in areas that are not yet submerged by the sea. 2021-429 The outside temperature rose to 35 degrees, and the weather was quite muggy. However, this high temperature has not stopped human beings from wanting to live. The onslaught of the fleeing on the shelter that owned the ark at sea continues. Many shelters that failed to complete the sea ark in time also joined the big war. Under such a high-intensity impact, many shelters with sea arcs are also a little unbearable. For a time, many sea arcs changed owners. April 30, 2021 In the early hours of this morning, a huge storm swept through most of the Xia kingdom. Under this superstorm that swept everything, the chaos seemed to have been completely calmed down. May 1, 2021 A new January has begun. At noon on this day, the system that had been silent for a long time released a new appointment. Freshwater Collection Mission Statement. The world is about to enter the marine era, and fresh water is an indispensable substance to maintain the normal operation of the human body. Ask the host to collect and store 100 tons of fresh water. Mission Rewards. Advanced Freshwater Manufacturing Technology. Note: this freshwater manufacturing technology can purify any polluted water into pure fresh water. Collect fresh water. Damn it. How did I almost overlook this? Seeing this task, Li Hao seemed to remember something, and his face showed a trace of solemnity. After completing the shelter renovation, he seemed a little too relaxed. 100 secrets. For a while, it was forgotten to solve the problem of replenishment of fresh water from submarine-type mobile marine shelters. You know, water is known as the source of life. If you don't eat, humans can live for about 10 days, and they can't withstand it for 3 days without drinking water. You can imagine how important water is to human beings. At present, all the fresh water used for evacuation is groundwater extracted from the ground. Once the shelter starts moving, it is obviously impossible for the BFCD to continue pumping water from the ground without the support of fresh water in the ground, and without the means to stabilize the replenishment of fresh water, the shelter will soon fall into a dilemma of water shortage. This is clearly intolerable for Li Hao. This system mission comes at the right time, and it is not so much a task as a welfare. Because accomplishing this task is too simple. You only need to get 100 square meters of water storage in the shelter, and then pump groundwater, pump 100 tons. It is precisely because of this that Li Hao said that this task is like a welfare compared to the task he completed before. The task is simple, but it must be completed as soon as possible. Water is so important for shelters. It's not just people who need to drink water, but technological props such as oil manufacturing devices and salt synthesis machines need water to operate, otherwise they will fall into a state of shutdown. Thinking of this, Li Hao immediately walked out of the bedroom and walked towards the industrial workshop. To complete this task, he must first get a few large water towers for storing water. Access to industrial workshops. Coming to the Super 3D printer bed, Li Hao casually bought a drawing of a water tower with a capacity of 100 tons from the Doomsday Black Technology Mall and entered it. Then, find the icon of the water tower and click manufacture. A minute later, a large water tower came down from the Super 3D printer bed. Now it's time to stock up on water. Let the fully automatic multi-purpose mechanical building octopus carry this large water tower to a room near the water supply room. Li Hao uses a large water pipe to connect the inlet of the large water tower to a pumping machine in the water supply room. Subsequently, the water began to flow into the large water tower continuously. The water storage rate is still a little slow. Recently, we should shut down the oil manufacturing equipment and salt synthesis machine. Anyway, there is a lot of oil and salt in the current reserve of the shelter, and it is okay to close it for a day or two, and it will be good to restart it when this task is completed. Looking at the progress bar on the task panel, Li Hao was a little dissatisfied with his face. Go to the oil manufacturing room and salt manufacturing room, and turn off the oil manufacturing equipment and salt synthesis machine. Without the operation of the two equipment, the oil manufacturing device and the salt synthesis machine, the consumption of groundwater was suddenly greatly reduced, and the flow of water to the water tower became larger and more numerous. At the current rate of water hoarding, it should be possible to complete the freshwater collection task before the arrival of the ocean era. After estimating the completion time of the freshwater collection mission and confirming that it could be completed before the arrival of the ocean era, Li Hao was also relieved and began to think about other aspects of the test shelter. After all, the negligence of this freshwater problem really reminded him that he needed to make sure that other aspects of the shelter were not experiencing major problems like fresh water. After checking the entire shelter and confirming that there was no problem, Li Hao really relaxed. Chapter 91. The dilapidated Shanghai City, a fully automatic freshwater manufacturing machine. May 2, 2021. A superstorm that lasted 2 days and 2 nights was over. However, during the superstorm, the sea level did not stop surge, but it became more turbulent. Now it has rushed through the cities in the middle of the inland area, and is quickly rushing towards the towns in the large rear of the inland area. In the process, countless people could not escape and died under this boundless cold sea. Compared to before, the Doomsday Forum is also countless times deserted. There are very few posts about speeches. Apparently too much has happened lately and too many people have died. In the face of the marine natural disasters that are about to sweep every corner of the continent, those who are still alive today are also fighting for their own survival, and who will post on it leaves early. There are no sand sculpture netizens to chat. Li Hao was also idle and bored after reading the Lunar Shift Analysis Estimate report borrowed from the official server every day. However, fortunately, he collected a lot of entertainment products before the end of the world. In addition to a large number of games and movies, TV videos, there are tens of thousands of music, tens of thousands of novels, and so on. In the short term, you don't have to worry about not having anything to pass the time. What is more, there are also 3 daughters of Shazushi in the shelter, who can play casual board games online together. It is also a great way to pass the boring time. After playing a game with Shazushi's 3 daughters, Li Hao picked up a novel and read it with relish. The day passed quickly. Coupled with the freshwater hoarded yesterday, the progress bar of the freshwater collection task has been more than half completed. May 3, 2021. The sea has covered towns behind a flooded interior. It is quite close to Shanghai City, where Li Hao is located. At most, in a day or two, you can reach Shanghai City. Under such circumstances, Shanghai City Sea also became extremely chaotic. The sanctuary that owned the sea ark was coveted by others, became the target of everyone, and was collectively besieged by everyone. Throughout the day, the gunfire echoed through the city, barely stopping. Of course, in addition to those who tried to snatch the sea ark, there were also many people running towards the plateau where the official location was located. Most of these people have some confidence in their professional skills and consider themselves elites. Therefore, he planned to go to the official and enter the official sea ark. While everyone in the outside world was running for their own lives, Li Hao was not idle and began to fix the facilities and equipment in the shelter. Prevent damage that may be caused by vibrations in the shelter when it is impacted by seawater. 2015-4 levels continue to approach cities in the hinterland. More and more people are fleeing to Shanghai City. With the frenzied influx of a large number of refugees, Shanghai City became even more chaotic. In addition to those who fought the battle around the ark at sea, there were many madmen who had fallen into a state of despair and collapsed to make trouble everywhere, wanting to drag others to die. The situation in Shanghai City was almost chaotic. Gunships, handmade cannons, homemade howitzers, many heavy weapons roared through the city, killing in bursts. In the flying gun smoke and war, Shanghai City, a city that has been baptized by various disasters, looks more and more dilapidated. Most of the city is in ruins. However, the chaos and fighting in Shanghai City did not affect Li Hao. After all, since the official release of the news of the arrival of the marine natural disaster, he has been hiding in an underground shelter extremely low-key. Who will notice him? No one could have imagined that Li Hao would be able to quietly complete the construction of an alternative sea arc underground with only the resources of his own shelter, and have the capital to easily survive marine natural disasters. Occasionally, a few madmen who wanted to pull others to die together were also ordered by Li Hao to cook all the clones' warriors and send them back to the west in advance. If there is no big movement, it will naturally not attract the attention of others. As such, the area around the Li Hao shelter is now almost forgotten by everyone. Almost no one came. The outside world is hot, but Li Hao is leisurely hiding in the shelter and watching the changes in the storm. In the evening, after 4 days, the freshwater collection task progress bar is finally full. It's finally done. As soon as the task was completed, Li Hao opened the system inventory. Sure enough, the reward for the freshwater collection mission has arrived. A thick stack of technical information appears in the system inventory. Shown above was the advanced freshwater manufacturing technology. According to the introduction displayed by the system, as long as the technical principle of this technical information is followed, a fully automatic freshwater manufacturing machine is built. Seeing this, Li Hao immediately got up from the sofa and strode towards the industrial workshop. Come to the Super 3D printer bed. Remove this technical information from the inventory and enter it into the drawing library of the printer bed. Ask for flowers. Seeing new manufacturing options appear on the printer bed's display, Li Hao clicked directly on manufacturing. Super 3D printer bed starts. Under the printing of robotic arms equipped with various high-end technological tools, the extremely precise parts are quickly formed and assembled together. About 10 minutes later, a long cylindrical machine that was 5 or 6 meters long came off the tracks of the machine. Li Hao opened the device's properties panel. Automatic freshwater making machine output 10 tons. This automatic freshwater manufacturing machine has the functions of peeling, filtration, decomposition and purification, freshwater synthesis, etc. No matter how seriously polluted the polluted water enters this machine, it can be purified to synthesize the purest fresh water. Note: the more polluted the water, the longer it takes to purify, at least 10 tons of fresh water a day. The yield is not bad. Li Hao also had a satisfied smile on his face. At present, the total amount of domestic water and industrial water in the shelter is about 25 tons, of which industrial water accounts for the vast majority. Even at a minimum of 10 tons of fresh water per day, only 2 more needs to be built to fully meet the daily operation needs of the shelter. With the automated freshwater manufacturing machine, the problem with freshwater needed for life in the marine era in the future will also be completely solved. 2 more automated freshwater making machines were manufactured. Li Hao found an empty room in the shelter to use as a water purification room, and put all 3 devices in it. Subsequently, a basin of pure fresh water was obtained, deliberately contaminated with a lot of salt and mud, and put into the 3 devices. Start the device. Backlight. Backlight. The indicator lights on the devices lit up one after another, and the turbid salt water instantly disappeared into the water inlets of the 3 devices. A few seconds later, extremely clear water flows from the spouts of the 3 devices. After tasting it, Li Hao found that it was indeed pure water. There is not a hint of salt and earthiness. Sure enough, the filtration efficiency is very high and thorough. However, the current era of oceans has not really arrived, so continue to use groundwater. Confirming that the automated freshwater making machine was working properly, Li Hao walked out of the water purification room with a smile on his face. The problem with freshwater in the future of submarine-type mobile marine shelters has been solved. His heart was more calm and peaceful about the arrival of the ocean age. Playing games leisurely, the day passed like this. Chapter 92: Abnormal seawater, natural disasters subsided. May 5, 2021. Today is the day predicted in the official lunar shift analysis report, when tidal gravity will surge again and the oceans will completely submerge the continents. Li Hao also wakes up early to get ready for the arrival of the ocean era. However, left waits right, etc. By the afternoon, the sea still didn't move at all. It wasn't until he saw a new post on the Doomsday Forum that Li noticed that the seawater seemed to have stagnated after the basin. Not to mention flooding the entire continent, even Shanghai City has not been able to flood. If something is abnormal, it is a demon. The abnormality of the seawater made Li Hao feel a little uneasy in his heart, and he had a faint sense of foreboding. Let's see if there's anything official there. In order to find out why the sea suddenly became abnormal, Li Hao immediately asked Jarvis to enter the official server and query the relevant information. However, officials also seem to be somewhat confused about the situation. Today's lunar deflection sub 603 analysis report does not really explain the reason. The specific cause seems to be under investigation. What the hell is going on here? Seeing that even the official did not know the specific reason, Li Hao frowned. It's so perverse. I thought that today was the day when Blue Star entered the ocean age. Who would have thought that the sea suddenly stopped rising? This feeling of not going up and down is uncomfortable. Just like being sentenced to death, the period before the death penalty is the most tormenting. Always in a state of worry and fear. As a result, it was hard to wait for the moment of execution, but suddenly said that he would kill again another day. This feeling is simply not sour. Although Li Hao has always maintained a calm and calm attitude towards the arrival of the ocean era. But in the face of the seawater that suddenly became abnormal, Li Hao also had a black eye and felt very uncomfortable. No, I have to see what's going on in this sea. Thinking like this, Li Hao took out the stealth hovering drone he had bought earlier from the storage room and thought about walking outside the shelter. Open the hatch of the armor at the top shell of the submarine-type mobile marine shelter. The completely invisible stealth levitating drone was released later. Li Hao returned to the shelter, watching the picture transmitted by the stealth suspension drone on the remote control display, while controlling the stealth suspension drone to fly in the direction of the seawater 50 miles away from Shanghai City. As the black technology produced in the Doomsday Black Technology Mall, the control and movement radius of the stealth suspension drone reaches a speed of 120 miles per hour is also quite amazing. After less than 10 minutes of flight, the camera of the stealth suspension drone showed the traces of seawater. Until the wee hours of this morning, this was just a basin. Today, it is covered by endless seawater and has become part of the ocean. Take control of a stealth hovering drone and walk around the ocean. Strange. Why is the sea so calm today? Looking at the image screen transmitted by the stealth suspension drone on the display screen of the remote control, Li Hao's heart was also full of doubts. Wrong. Today's seawater is very wrong. The calm is excessive, there are no big waves at all. You know, when the seawater hit the mainland before, it was high after wave, surging to the extreme. The momentum is ferocious. Won't the sea rise again, and the ocean era won't come? Seeing this, Li Hao couldn't help but flash this thought in his heart. But he quickly dismissed this unreliable idea. Because, in the official lunar shift analysis report just borrowed today, the deflection of the moon is still continuing, and there is no sign of stopping. In this case, the tidal gravity of the blue star will definitely continue to increase. In other words, the arrival of the ocean era is inevitable. Since the arrival of the ocean era is inevitable, then the stagnation and calm of the sea in front of we are obviously only temporary. Maybe it is still a precursor to some catastrophe. Although he didn't know the reason for the sudden stagnant and calm of the sea, Li Hao also quickly raised his vigilance in his heart. He decided not to recover the stealth drone suspension for the time being, and directly let it levitate above the boundary between seawater and land, and continue to transmit images of seawater. May 6, 2021. According to the images transmitted by the stealth suspension drone, the sea still shows no signs of rising today. On the contrary, there is a faint trend of retreating. Seeing that the situation seemed to be developing in a good direction, Li Hao's heart did not relax in the slightest, but became more vigilant. Borrowing the investigation report of the official server again, I still found nothing. However, the news of the stagnation of the sea for 2 consecutive days has brought a little hope to many people. Perhaps the oceanic disaster is over. However, the chaos and war in Shanghai City have not stopped much. After all, no one dares to guarantee that the marine natural disaster has subsided, and the sea will never rise forever. May 7, 2021. According to the image transmitted by the drone, the sea retreated nearly 10 miles. It seems that the marine natural disaster really shows signs of subsidence, and, therefore, the news of the end of the marine disaster spread in the Doomsday Forum. And there are more and more people who believe affected by this news. The armed conflicts around the Sea Arc and Shanghai City have decreased a lot. But Li Hao, who knew that the deflection of the moon never stopped, never believed that the marine disaster would really subside. On the contrary, the more abnormal the seawater, the more he felt that the wind and rain were coming. May 8, 2021. Shelter, inside the living room. Li Hao and Zhazushi's 3 dog ears are sitting on the sofa, watching the video of the seawater on the satellite TV in front of them. This is the result of Li Hao asking Jarvis to transfer the camera signal of the stealth hovering drone to satellite TV. On the TV screen, you can clearly see that the seawater seems to be at low tide, constantly receding. Is this marine disaster over? Sitting in Li Hao's arms, Zhaozushi looked up at Li Hao and asked curiously. Hearing this, Zhaozuki and Zhaozuo also turned their eyes to Li Hao. Their eyes were also full of curiosity and questions. Probably not. The waters of low tide now may be a harbinger of a major ocean catastrophe. After a moment of silence, Li Hao replied. Although it is only speculation, it is also well-founded. These days, he asks Jarvis to borrow the official lunar deflection analysis report every day. The conclusion has never changed. All the while, the lunar deflection continues, and the ocean era is bound to come. Then the current scene contrary to the conclusion is obviously a big problem. Among the 4.5 speculations in Li Hao's mind, the probability of precursors of marine natural disasters is the largest. Otherwise, it is impossible to explain the abnormal flow of the sea in front of you. Hearing Li Hao's words, Zhao Zhuxi's third daughter was also surprised. After being surprised, Zhao Zhuxi's third daughter also chose to believe what Li Hao said. After all, they know Li Hao's magic with the high-tech of a fully automatic multifunctional mechanical building octopus. Since Li Hao said so, this receding tide is certainly not so simple. Zhao Zhuxi's three daughters have Li Hao's reminder, and they are still vigilant against the low-tide water. And those people in the outside world are different. For 3 days, the sea continued to recede. Seeing this, almost the vast majority of people believe that the marine natural disaster has really stopped and subsided. The tense nerves in my heart suddenly relaxed a lot. The doomsday forum was filled with cheers. Most of the battles around the Sea Arc in Shanghai City disappeared in an instant. Chapter 93A. Super Tsunami with a height of thousands of meters. May 9, 2021. The outside sea is still regressing. So far, the sea has been poured out for hundreds of miles. Many submerged towns and villages have resurfaced from the sea. Seeing this, the news that the marine natural disaster has subsided is more and more believed. The nerves that were originally tense to the extreme in people's hearts have also become more and more relaxed. People even began to travel to towns that had receded to search for available supplies. Only a few remain skeptical. No matter what others think, inside the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter, Li Hao still maintains his original vigilance, allowing Jarvis to observe and analyze the movement of the sea every day. May 10, 20,212, 53, 46. Bell. 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 The electronic alarm clock on the side suddenly sounded without warning. Something happened. Li Hao opened his eyes in vain, and this thought flashed through his mind. These days, he lets Jarvis control his stealth hovering drone to observe the movement of the sea day and night, and immediately notify him if there's a big change or a large marine disaster in 15 years. The electronic alarm clock that suddenly sounded in the early hours of the morning was obviously Jarvis's notification reminder. Turn off the alarm. Li Hao got up and brought the tablet on the table next to him. Uncle, what's wrong? The moment Li Hao got up, a cold wind blew into the bed, and Zhao Zhuxi was also frozen and trembled, opened her eyes in confusion, and looked at Li Hao, who got up to take the tablet on the side. Something may have happened. Returning to the bed with the tablet, Li Hao replied with a solemn look on his face. Opening the tablet in his hand, Li Hao directly authorized Jarvis to take over the tablet. Next second, the player automatically opens and starts playing the image currently captured by the stealth hovering drone. I saw that in the picture, under the dim night, a blue high wall that seemed to be connected to the sky swept from far away. What the hell is this? Li Hao's solemn face showed a hint of doubt. As if aware of Li Hao's doubts, the camera of the stealth hovering drone began to automatically zoom. The camera zooms in. The moment he saw what this blue high wall seemed to be, Li Hao also gasped in his heart. Tsunami. How could there be such a terrifying tsunami? Li Hao was shocked with a hint of disbelief. He never thought that this thing would be a tsunami. You know, humans have observed that the tallest in that tsunami is only more than 80 meters and more than 40 stories high. In this one in front of him, just by looking at it, he feels that it is at least thousands of meters. That is as tall as a 500-story building. The difference in height alone is more than 10 times, and the power is even more different. Compared with the tsunamis that could only flood the coastal area on the Blue Star, the current super tsunami may be able to directly flood the entire continent. In the face of this kind of supernatural disaster covering a continent, human beings are undoubtedly extremely small. Brother, how will we die? Zhao Zhuxi, who drilled her head into Li Hao's arms on the side, looked at the terrifying picture on the tablet computer that was countless times more shocking than a science fiction movie, and her voice couldn't help but tremble. It won't. Although the power and coverage of the super tsunami is large, the power is not concentrated, and our submarine-type mobile marine shelter shell should be enough to withstand this impact. Although he was shocked in his heart, Li Hao's face was not flustered. Although the power of the super tsunami in front of you is extremely terrifying, its coverage is too large. It can cover an entire continent, and the power is actually relatively scattered. You only need to withstand a very small part of the impact force relative to the entire super tsunami, and you will be safe. He is still quite confident about this. After all, the shell armor of a submarine-type mobile ocean shelter is composed of more than 100 tons of energy-absorbing alloys. With its energy-absorbing characteristics and its own strong defense, I am afraid that a nuclear warhead exploded above the shelter, and it also wanted to directly break through the shell armor of the shelter. Of course, for ordinary people, facing this super tsunami is certain death. Even those who have a shelter for the ark at sea are a little choking. If the tonnage is too light, bad luck, the sea ark will be directly knocked over by the huge impact of the tsunami, and the people inside will also die on the spot. Let's go to the safety shelter first to prevent injury due to the vibration caused by the violent impact. Saying that, Li Hao held the tablet in one hand and Zhazuxi in the other hand and quickly walked out of the bedroom. Wake up Zhazuhui and Zhazuki's 2 daughters. Li Hao and his 3 daughters ran directly to the safety shock house inside the shelter. The safe shock house was the same room he used a long time ago to avoid the violent earthquake that the giant meteorite had just fallen off. The interior is made of flexible resin material, which can effectively reduce external vibration and prevent severe vibration from causing harm to the human body. After avoiding the earthquake caused by the fall of the giant meteorite, he did not tear it down, thinking that it might one day be able to be used. This does not. Today, it's really used. Boom. Entering the safety shock house, Li Hao closes the door and locks it. Then, sitting on the resin mat, turn your gaze to the tablet in your hand again. The period of time it had just taken Zhazuki and the others to hide in the safety shock house was definitely not more than 2 minutes. I saw that on the screen. The super tsunami that originally seemed quite distant had approached rapidly. He could clearly see the roaring waves on the blue high wall, and the rushing 990 seawater was galloping towards Shanghai City with a momentum of destruction and decay. Along the way, one abandoned town building after another was directly washed away and disappeared into the endless deep water. As if nothing could stop it. Seeing this scene of destruction 10,000 times more terrifying than the most terrifying disaster movie, Zhazuki and Zhazua couldn't help but tremble their bodies, pulling Li Hao's arm to find a sense of security. This is the instinctive reaction of human beings in the face of supernatural disasters. It's okay. It is impossible for this super tsunami to break through the shelter's defenses. Sensing the fear in the 3 women's hearts, Li Hao said with relief. You know, the submarine-type marine shelter is located underground on the outskirts of the eastern district of Shanghai City, with a thick layer of soil and building cushions overhead. Coupled with the strong defenses of the shelter itself, it is not much of a problem to survive this super tsunami. It seems that feeling the confidence in Li Hao's words, the fear in the 3 women's hearts is also calmed down a lot. To calm the emotions of the 3 women, Li Hao turned on the split screen of the tablet, put the picture transmitted by the invisible hovering drone on the left split screen, and then opened the Doomsday Forum on the right split screen. The vibration of the super tsunami is absolutely super. Now the Doomsday Forum is probably also exploding. The vast majority of people should not understand the situation at all. I thought an earthquake was coming. Chapter 94. The world has entered the ocean era. The system is updated. Sure enough. Log into the Doomsday Forum. Li Hao found it very lively. Many people were awakened from their sleep by this violent vibration and posted on the internet to inquire about the discussion. Wow. What happened? Why is there suddenly a tremor everywhere? It won't be a big earthquake, right? Exclamation mark. It can't be. Doesn't it feel like that? Labor and management now run into the street, and there's no crack in the ground. It won't be the seawater at low tide these days. What's the problem? Stop being alarmist. The marine disaster is over. What is so strange about low tide? Not to mention that many people really guess the truth by accident. Marine natural disasters have never ended, and the marine era has never stopped. Footsteps. The low tide is only a prelude to today's super ocean disaster. If it goes on like this, these people may not know that disaster is coming until they die. Looking at these people who still did not know that the crisis was coming, Li Hao directly recreated a trumpet, took a screenshot of the split screen on the left for more than 10 seconds and posted it to the Doomsday Forum, marked as the source of the shock. And let Jarvis obtain the highest authority of the Doomsday Forum, forcibly top and mark this screen in red. Done. The next thing is life or death, depending on these people's own creation. Looking at the top the picture on the Doomsday Forum, Li Hao's eyes were deep. Let him risk his own safety to save others, he can't do it. But if just raising his hand and not harming his own interests, he can give others a higher chance of survival, and he still doesn't mind doing it. After all, everyone is human. Now there are many people in the Doomsday Forum who discuss this inexplicable earthquake. Soon, Li Hao's forced top and red marked post attracted the attention of most people. Click to climb the number. However, no one replied. At the same time, the time of the entire Doomsday Forum seemed to have completely stopped. The previous likely discussion post instantly became extremely cold, and no one posted again. Obviously, after seeing the video footage given by Li Hao, everyone fled for their lives. who was in the mood to post. Seeing this, Li Hao also closed the Doomsday Forum, which had become dead silent again, and refocused his attention on the super tsunami shown in the left screen split screen. As Li Hao posted just now, the super tsunami has crossed a distance of tens of kilometers, destroying more than a dozen towns along the way, and pointing directly at Shanghai City. The super tsunami just passed by and destroyed Anson County, so it should be less than 20 kilometers from Shanghai City. With the speed of the super tsunami, it takes less than a minute to arrive. Looking at the super tsunami that swept through everything in the video screen, Li Hao thought silently in his heart. Within a minute, Shanghai City will be destroyed by the super tsunami that hits. At that time, the submarine-type mobile marine shelter will have to withstand the impact and water pressure of the super tsunami. Quietly gaze at the spectacular super tsunami in the video. That is less than a minute. About 30 seconds later, the camera of the stealth levitating drone tracking the super tsunami also faintly appeared in the picture of Shanghai City. Shanghai City is already inside. 10 seconds later. Rumble. The roaring billions of tons of seawater rushed into Shanghai City mercilessly. Along the way, high-rise buildings are like building blocks for children to play, all broken and shattered. Even Li Hao was in the video picture transmitted by the stealth suspension drone camera, and saw that many people's figures were submerged and involved in this infinite seawater, and finally disappeared without a trace, silently disappearing under the icy seawater. The whole disaster picture cannot show even the most terrifying disaster movies by 1/10,000th, and the cruelty is cold in the extreme. In the next second, hundreds of millions of tons of seawater roared into the eastern suburbs of Shanghai City. Bang! A monstrous wave stretching for tens of kilometers was photographed. Even with the energy-absorbing alloy shell armor and the double absorption barrier of the safety shock chamber, Li Hao can feel a very strong vibration sensation very clearly. You can imagine how terrifying the power of this big wave is. Looking at the picture transmitted by the stealth suspension drone camera, under the impact of this big wave, the entire suburb of the eastern district of Shanghai City was completely destroyed. Followed by the suburbs of the southern district, the suburbs of the western district, the urban area of Shanghai City, and the suburbs of the northern district. In less than a minute, the entire Shanghai City was demolished clean, all areas were submerged by the sea, and the roaring seawater still did not stop, the momentum did not abate, and continued to rush deeper inland. However, although the super tsunami left, its subsequent effects did not dissipate. Shanghai City is still ravaged by the rushing and violent currents. The violent currents generated by the super tsunami lasted for several days in Shanghai City. Li Hao and others also hid in the safety shock room for 3 days, eating self-heating rice and self-heating hot pot on the main day. 3 days later, the submarine-type mobile marine shelter finally stopped vibrating. Finally can come out. After determining that the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter could fully withstand absorbing the impact of the violent ocean currents outside, Li Hao couldn't wait to take the 3 women out of the safety suspension house. After eating self-heating fast food for 3 days, he almost mimicked on the taste. As soon as it came out, Li Hao asked Zhazu to cook a big meal, and celebrate a supernatural disaster. After a full meal, Li Hao lazily lay on the sofa, looking at the image of the stealth hovering drone on the tablet in his hand. Perhaps because the current submarine-type mobile marine shelter is under the sea, the signal is interfered by the current, and the picture is somewhat intermittent. But you can still clearly see the endless seawater rushing and churning in the original location of Shanghai City, forming a wave vortex. It's very violent. Of course, the current is much smoother now than before. This is evidenced by the fact that submarine-type mobile ocean shelters no longer feel vibrating. With the arrival of the Ocean H, my submarine-type mobile ocean shelter can also be moved. But it seems that this violent current is estimated to continue for a while before it completely disappears. Let's stay here during this time. With this huge turbulent current, if the shelter wants to move, I am afraid that it will also be disturbed. To be on the safe side, Li Hao didn't mean to move the shelter right away. Making a decision, Li Hao threw that tablet in his hand aside. That's right. I haven't seen the settlement of survival events in the past few days! Survive the super tsunami, you should get a lot of points from settlement. In anticipation, Li Hao opened the system log. Doomsday Survival, long-term mission, today's mission reward settlement completed. Li Hao's survival performance theory. Get a reminder and notification from Jarvis and you find a sweeping mega tsunami with plus 2,000 points in the face of the menacing super tsunami. Although you are confident in the defense of the shelter, you take your woman to hide in the safe shelter has to be on the safe side plus 3,000 points to spread the news of the super tsunami to the Doomsday Forum to remind others that plus 1,000 points to survive the super tsunami and enter the Ocean Age with plus 25,000 points to eat 3 meals a day, steadily consume energy, and maintain a balanced body nutrition. plus 20 points to go into a deep sleep, refreshed, and the physical energy consumed yesterday is fully restored. Plus 30 points. Congratulations to the host for earning 32,400 points. Ding. Congratulations on surviving the super tsunami of the ocean inverted continent and becoming a survivor of the ocean age. The Doomsday Black Technology system began to update automatically. The update time is expected to be 5 days. During the update period, all functions of the system can be used normally. Chapter 95: The Vicissitudes of Life, the Threat of Solar Radiation. The settlement panel of the system log is full of Li Hao's survival performance these days. Large and small survival events are listed one by one, and the points given are not the same. The survival event with the most points is Li Hao expected, which is his success in surviving the super tsunami and entering the ocean age alive. This alone gave him 25,000 points, directly refreshing his record for the highest points for a single survival event. And the rest of the survival adds up, but gives him only 7,400 points. The two add up to a total of 32,400 points. It can be described as a big harvest that has never been completed. However, this time, in addition to the survival performance settlement, there is also an additional system prompt. System update. Update time is 5 days. Looking at this system prompt, Li Hao couldn't help but be stunned. He also did not expect that entering the ocean era, the system would start updating without warning. And it also takes 5 days to update. But after seeing the instructions behind the update time, Li Hao was also relieved. Anyway, all functions can be used normally during the update period, and it does not affect his use of the system. Update for 5 days. Update for 5 days. No big deal. What happens to the already powerful system after the update is complete? Thinking of this, Li Hao's heart also flashed a trace of curiosity and expectation at 763. However, the system update takes 5 days. His curiosity was not destined to be immediately satisfied. The answer will not be revealed until 5 days later. At the moment, the system was not changed at all. Nothing is visible at all. Seeing this, Li Hao had to close the system panel. There seems to be nothing to do. Surviving the mega tsunami that swept the continents of the ocean, temporarily without an existential crisis, Li Hao found himself suddenly idle bored. Li Hao can only play games with Shazushi and look at the novels hoarded before to pass the time. In such a leisurely time, the day passes quickly. May 14, 2021. It was the 4th day after the mega tsunami. Today, the raging currents caused by the mega tsunami are still raging in the surrounding area. However, judging from the images fed back by the stealth suspension drone, this violent current is obviously much weaker than yesterday. It seems that in 2 days at most, this current will dissipate. 202, BFCD, January 5, 2015. The rushing and turbulent currents were once again soothing and calming down a lot. However, this afternoon, the weather outside suddenly turned overcast, and the majestic rainstorm mixed with storms and lightning struck. In order to prevent the stealth hovering drone from being damaged by lightning, Li Hao asked Jarvis to lower its flight altitude from an altitude of more than 1,000 meters to a place only about 40 meters above the sea surface. May 16, 2021. The furious currents that lasted for nearly 5 days finally dissipated completely. The sea is no longer full of raging tide whirlpools. But the huge storm in the sky outside has not stopped. The rain poured and the wind howled. Affected by this, the waves on the sea surface are also quite heavenly. Such bad weather is obviously not suitable for going out. Therefore, Li Hao has no intention of letting the shelter float to the surface. Continue to nest at the bottom of the sea, sit and watch the torrential rain, strong winds, and strong waves on the sea. At this time, the superiority of submarine-type mobile marine shelters is perfectly reflected. Lurking under the bottom of the sea, no matter how strong the storm is, no matter how big the waves are, it can't hit. There's no impact at all. If you change to those ship-type shelters, you can only float on the sea and receive the baptism of storms and winds and waves head-on. Simply not too miserable. 17, 2021. At 6 o'clock in the morning, the storm, which lasted for 2 days and 2 nights, stopped. There is no heavy rain and strong wind, and the wind and waves have become calm. Seeing this, Li Hao, who had been holding back in the shelter for several days, immediately asked Jarvis to drive the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter to float. He was going to look outside. Bang! A slight ignition sounded, the nuclear-powered vector engine started, and the tail burst out with blue flames, propelling submarine-type mobile ocean shelter to rise rapidly. 5 seconds later. Boom! A giant spindle-shaped metal monster broke through the surface of the sea and appeared above it. Next second. The hatch above the metal monster's head slammed open. 2 figures wearing radiation-proof life support suits came out of it. It was Li Hao and No. 1. What are the vicissitudes of the sea? Walking out of the shelter, Li Hao stood on the deck of the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter, looking at the endless ocean around him, and his heart was also a little tranced in emotion. A few days ago, it was a majestic human city. However, after only a few days, everything was gone. In its place is this boundless sea. This kind of change really makes people sigh that the world is changeable and everything is impermanent. The temperature on the sea is a bit high. When he came back to his senses, Li Hao felt a little stuffy. Take out the temperature tester and take a test. 56 degrees. It seems that these days, the moon's deflection has become much larger again, making the escape of the blue star's atmosphere more serious, and the sunlight entering the blue star is getting stronger and stronger. Otherwise, the temperature wouldn't have been able to open so fast. Seeing this, Li Hao also frowned. This is not good news. If this continues, it is not impossible for the temperature to rise to hundreds of degrees in the future. At that time, the world will be a big steamer. If there's no heat avoidance measures, I am afraid that heat can heat people to death. However, my shelter can dive directly to the bottom of the sea, and this rapidly rising temperature should not affect me. Thinking of this, Li Hao's heart was also slightly relaxed. The reason why he transformed the shelter into a submarine was to use the sea as a natural umbrella and barrier. Unless the sun is large enough to evaporate the entire blue star ocean, the temperature will not affect him much if it rises. It seems that my previous transformation choice was not very wise. However, although hiding in a shelter doesn't matter, sometimes you still need to go out. The outside temperature is rising rapidly, and for the sake of safety, it is best to upgrade the heat insulation function of the radiation protection life support suit. Thinking so, Li Hao returned to the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter with no 1. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelas. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96. Upgrade again. Temperature insulated version of radiation-proof life support clothing. Back to the shelter. Taking off his radiation protection suit, Li Hao walked straight towards the industrial workshop inside the shelter. Come to the super 3D printer bed in the industrial workshop. The system optimizes the drawings of the anti-radiation life support suit, enhances the heat insulation function, and meets the heat insulation standard of the fire insulation suit. How many points does it need? Li Hao said silently in his heart. The standard for heat insulation clothing on blue stars that within 2 meters of the fire source, the temperature of the inner surface of the clothing that can withstand 1000 degrees of high temperature will not be greater than 45 degrees. In the temperature of blue stars unlikely to reach more than 1000 degrees. You know, the moon has no atmosphere at all, it is directly exposed to the sun, and the temperature has only reached 130 degrees. Referring to the adjacent moon, we know that even if the atmosphere disappears completely, the temperature of the blue star will only rise to more than 100 degrees at most. Such an insulating effect is more than enough to resist the rising temperature of blue star. System. The original radiation protection life support suit drawings cost 300 points, and the radiation protection life support suit cold protection version drawings cost 1200 points. Why is it that the drawings of the radiation protection life support suit, cold protection version, are so much more expensive than the original radiation protection life support suit drawings to enhance the same function? Hearing this, Li Hao was also a little puzzled. System. Because the original radiation-proof life support suit only needs to add a heat insulation function, and the radiation protection life support suit, cold protection version, drawing is an upgraded version of the original, and then add heat insulation function to it. You need to upgrade the material formula again to make the heat insulation function compatible with the original cold protection function. This way. Hearing the explanation of the system, Li Hao was also abrupt. The drawings of the radiation protection life support suit, cold protection version, require additional material upgrades, and the point expenditure is naturally much larger than the original. Upgrade the anti-radiation life support suit, cold version, drawings. After a deep groan, Li Hao spoke. This radiation protection suit is worn on the body, but it is related to your own life. To get nature, to get the best. Anyway, the difference between the left and right is only 900 points. He now has a lot of points on hand, and he doesn't need to save such a little point. System. Upgrading the drawings of the radiation protection life support suit, cold protection version, requires a total of 1200 points. Are you sure to upgrade? Okay. Li Hao said without hesitation. Ding. After deducting 1200 points, the drawing of the radiation protection life support suit, insulated version, has been placed in the host inventory. Take the radiation protection support suit, insulated version, drawing out of the system inventory. Li Hao entered it into the drawing library of the Super 3D printer bed. In the next second, on the display panel of the Super 3D printer bed, there was another branch option under the original radiation-proof life support suit. Put all the materials needed for manufacturing. Click manufacture. In less than half a minute, a silver and black radiation protection suit disembarked from the machine. Compared with the previous black-gray cold-proof version of the radiation protection support suit, this temperature-insulated version of the radiation protection life support suit has not changed much in other aspects. Only the synthetic material has changed significantly. It doesn't look like a weaving product at all, but it gives people a sense of integration. Seeing this strange change, Li Hao opened the property panel of this insulated version of the radiation protection life support suit with anticipation. Radiation protection support suit, insulated version, functional design. Radiation-proof outer clothing, insulating fiber fusion layer, oxygen circulation device, advanced constant temperature device introduction. This protective clothing for radiation protection and light maintenance, after 2 upgrades, is designed with thermal insulation materials, which can isolate and resist -150 degrees of ultra-low temperature and 1000 degrees of high temperature, and the tough insulating fiber fusion layer can be extremely effective in defending and buffering the damage of external attacks to the human body. It's worth the points. Li Hao nodded in satisfaction. Not only did it increase the high-temperature isolation function he needed, but the defense power of the life support suit itself was once again greatly improved, and the cushion-in function was also enhanced. Wearing this freshly baked version of the radiation-proof life support suit, Li Hao is ready to go out again to see the insulation effect. Opening the hatch of the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter, Li Hao walked out. The sun is shining high overhead, and the sun is extremely violent. Li Hao, on the other hand, did not feel the slightest, and even the previous stuffiness disappeared. It worked. After testing the performance of the radiation protection life support suit, Li Hao had no intention of continuing to hang out on the deck and return to the shelter satisfied. After all, the surrounding waters are endless. Ask for flowers, although the sea scenery is good, after watching it for a long time, there is nothing to see. Jarvis, sink. Upon receiving the order, Jarvis immediately controlled the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter and began to sink. Gollum. The sea swelled. In a matter of seconds, the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter quickly disappeared on the surface. The sea was calm again, as if it had never changed. May 18, 2021. Today is the 8th day of the mega tsunami, the world's entry into the ocean era. Inside a submarine-type mobile marine shelter, Li Hao lay lazily on the sofa, completely unsure of what to do. I'm tired of playing the game, and I don't want to read the novel. He couldn't find anything interesting to do right now. It can be said that the idle egg hurts. Right now. Let's play Famine Online. Zhao Zushi came over with the game disc and said to Li Hao with interest. I don't want to play now, you and Zuki and they play together. Li Hao refused. He really doesn't want to play the game now. Since the end of the world, he has played the most games. Even if many games are played in turns, he is completely tired of it. Now no matter how fun the game is put into his hands, he doesn't want to play. Alright. Seeing that Li Hao was not interested, Zhao Zushi could only pull her 2 sisters to play together. It's not the same as Li Hao's boredom. Zhao Zushi's third daughter is very satisfied with her current life, she is also passionate about life, and she is very happy every day. In their opinion, they are very lucky compared to others who died in the super tsunami. Convent is always happy. Sit on the sofa. I need to find something interesting to do and pass the time, otherwise if it goes on like this, people will be wasted. Watching the 3 sisters playing games with great interest, Li Hao was very dissatisfied with his current decadent state. Think about what you want to do. Suddenly, as if thinking of something, Li Hao's eyes suddenly lit up. I almost forgot. Today's the last day of the system update time. Chapter 97 System Update Complete. Time Limited Mall. The system update should be almost complete by now. Thinking of this, Li Hao couldn't wait to open the system panel and find the update time prompt bar below. 1 hour and 32 minutes left before the system update is completed. 1.5 more hours. Then wait. With nothing to do, Li Hao watched the countdown prompted by the system and waited for the system update to complete. An hour and 32 minutes later. 3, 2, 1. It took 5 days for the system update to be completed. The update is as follows. Optimize the mission system and add limited time mall. This time the content of the system update does not seem to be much, just optimize the old function module and add another function module. Mission system optimization and the addition of a limited time mall. Grasping the focus of the 723 update of the system, Li Hao opened the system taskbar as soon as possible. Sure enough, the taskbar interface has changed drastically. It is no longer as monolithic as it used to be. The above was divided into survival missions, collection missions, and exploration missions. Very simple and clear to classify as system tasks. And that's not the main thing. The main thing is that Li Hao found that the task can be taken on his own initiative. Keep in mind that previous tasks could only be randomly issued by the system. No one knows when it will come or when it will come. Since the end of the world, he has not received more than 10 system tasks. After this system update is completed, the system tray has an additional task refresh function. Every week, 1 to 3 tasks will be automatically refreshed for people to choose to claim. It's a lot more convenient. Looking at the updated taskbar, Li Hao is also bright. As for the number of tasks that can be picked up at the same time, the number of tasks remains the same. At most, you can only receive 3. Deducting the long-hanging Doomsday Survival quest, that is, he can only receive up to 2 more missions. After receiving it, you must complete 1 before you can continue to choose to receive other assignments. The system update is complete. The taskbar should also start to automatically refresh tasks, right? The taskbar is now divided into 2 interfaces. A personal taskbar and a task refresh bar. One shows claimed tasks and one shows tasks refreshed weekly. Fully aware of the changes in the taskbar after the system update, Li Hao can't wait to open the task refresh bar. However, his luck today does not seem to be very good. There's only 1 task to be claimed in the task refresh bar. See area exploration, exploration mission description. Danger always comes silently. Please find out what is going on within 100 miles of sea around you and make sure that there's no danger. Mission reward. 500 points. 500 points. Seeing the task reward column, Li Hao was also a little surprised. Before the update, the task rewards of system tasks are only technology or technology props. Unexpectedly, after this update, the mission reward began to appear. Point rewards. Good. Another way to earn points. Saying that, Li Hao also took this task. Although it only has 500 points, the victory lies in the simplicity of the task. You only need to drive around the surrounding waters of the submarine-type mobile marine refuge. It's alright picking. Naturally, he will not fail to receive it. Unfortunately, only 1 task was refreshed this week. If you want to receive more tasks, it seems that you can only wait for the tasks to be refreshed next week. After receiving the task, Li Hao looked at the task refresh bar that became empty again, and also shook his head inside. Closed the taskbar. That's right. And I didn't see the limited time mall function added by the system. I don't know what is the difference between this limited time mall and the original mall of the system. With curiosity, Li Hao found the limited time mall logo on the system panel. Click and I thought it would be a variety of products. Unexpectedly, there were 3 products inside. Each item has 4 big characters written on it with a limited time special. There is also a countdown below. Looking at the explanation of the function of the limited time mall, Li Hao also roughly understands the role and mechanism of this functional module. To put it bluntly, a limited time mall is a mall that sells specials. Every time in a while, the limited time mall will automatically refresh 3 products, and randomly discount these 3 products within a certain period of time, and 10 to 9 discounts are possible when the time is up, regardless of whether these 3 items are bought or not. A new limited time special will be directly refreshed. This feature looks amazing. If you're lucky, you may be able to buy high-grade technology or powerful technology props at a very low price. I wonder what the 3 limited time specials are refreshed this time. Thinking like this, Li Hao opened the page of the first limited time special item in the limited time mall with anticipation. Small weather controller introduction. This small weather controller can control the weather within 1,500 kilometers to create natural disasters such as thunderstorms, hail, heavy rain, and violent winds. Limited time special price. 120,000, original price. 240,000, countdown. 36, 51, 42, 5% off. It's a pity it's still too expensive. Li Hao is also a little regretful. The function of this small weather controller can be said to be quite terrifying, and it can create various meteorological disasters to attack the enemy within a radius of 1,500 kilometers. However, it is too expensive. Even if it is discounted, he still can't afford it, so he can only dry look at it. Closing the page of the small weather manipulator, Li Hao immediately looked at the other 2 limited time specials. One is a sweeping robot, which is discounted by 3 times and costs 550 points. A biomass generator, 6 discounts, sold for 1,000 points. Although it is cheap, it is not something that Li Hao needs. Sure enough, it's not so easy to pick up leaks! The items are random, the discounts are random, and the uncertainty of the limited time mall is too great. Unless you're lucky enough to burst, you can buy the goods you need cheaply. Seeing this, Li Hao also couldn't help but shake his head 4.6 and close the interface of the limited time mall. This time limited goods are not suitable for him, either too expensive or useless. I can only wait for the next time the limited time mall refreshes the product, and then take a look. It's still reliable to do the task. Looking at the tasks he claimed on his personal taskbar, Li Hao asked Jarvis to control the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter and start moving. Less than half an hour. The submarine-type mobile ocean shelter is a walk around the surrounding sea area. Not to mention the danger, even the sea creatures did not see one. After all, it was land a few days ago. After completing the exploration, 500 points will be credited directly to the account. 6. Today I have cold and fever, a sore throat, and a groggy mind. The state is not good. There may be only 3 more. Chapter 98. Blue Star humans are really too difficult. May 19, 2021. This week's refreshed task is done. In order not to let yourself salted all the time, so that it becomes a waste, Li Hao decided to find himself something else to do. Iron strokes. Iron in the gym. Although his current physical functions have been strengthened to the limit of his genes, it is impossible to continue to strengthen his body just by exercising, but iron exercise helps to maintain his current physical condition, and makes him mentally full and positive. Of course, the fitness equipment in the gym is not good at present. Too light. The barbells all add up, and the weight is only a few hundred kilograms. With his current physical fitness, I am afraid that he can casually play it as a toy for a day without getting tired, and he will not have the effect of exercising at all. Therefore, Li Hao deliberately spent 1,000 points from the system mall to buy high-density metal formula to recreate those fitness props. After the reinvention was completed, Li Hao tried it out and found that the results were very good. Just like that, Li Hao sweated in the gym again. May 20, 2021. It's been almost 2 months since the last harvest. After almost 2 months of growth. Today, 15 agricultural plantations once again ushered in a bumper harvest. After harvesting and processing this abundant batch of genetically modified quick-ripening rice, the grain reserves in the shelter increased by more than 10 tons again. May 21, 2021. Nothing. Li Hao continues to iron at the gym. 2-0-2-1-5-2-2. May 23, 2021. In the blink of an eye. It is May 24, 2021. A new week has begun. Today, when Li Hao routinely checked the survival performance settlement of the system log, he accidentally found that the taskbar on the system panel had an extra red dot. There seems to be a new task. Click in. Li Hao was surprised to find that the task refresh bar had refreshed. The refresh mechanism of the taskbar is a weekly refresh. And now it's only been 6 days since the last refresh. It has not been a week yet. Could it be that something went wrong with the system? Maybe I had a little error in my previous understanding of the task refresh time, and the refresh mechanism of the task refresh bar is not actually 1 week apart, 7 days, but the default Monday of each Gregorian calendar is a new week, and the automatic refresh is arbitrary. Today's Monday. After thinking for a moment, Li Hao made a deduction in his heart. This is most likely. After all, the probability of a system bug is too low. With the answer in mind, Li Hao did not have much ink, and directly opened the task refresh bar. This time he was lucky and directly refreshed 3 tasks at once. Carbohydrate collection task, mission description. Carbohydrates are important elements for maintaining human activities. Ask the host to collect 1,000 pounds of sugar. Mission reward. Quick ripening high sugar sugarcane dairy farm in, collection task, mission description. Milk is a drink with great nutrition value. Ask the host to purchase at least 10 cows and provide fresh milk and dairy products for the shelter. Mission reward. Fast-growing pasture detecting radiation changes, survival mission description. The rapid dissipation of the atmosphere of the blue star has brought many crises, the most deadly of which is not the high temperature brought by sunlight, but various cosmic radiation from the universe. Please record the changes in the radiation index of the blue star in the last 5 days. Mission reward. 3,000 points. 2 gathering missions, 1 survival mission. Looking at the 3 tasks on the task refresh panel, Li Hao's eyes also flashed a light. This time all 3 mission rewards are quite good. Compared to the previous sea exploration mission, the reward is much higher. Of course, the reward becomes higher, and the degree of trouble of the task naturally becomes a lot greater. Deducting the long-term mission of survival in the apocalypse, I can still receive 2 missions at the moment. Among them, the survival task of detecting radiation changes is a must, simple and easy, and it only takes 3 days to complete. As for the other 2 collection missions, I am not sure if they can be completed in the near future. Maybe we can leave them alone for the time being. Otherwise, it won't be completed after receiving it, and if you refresh any good tasks next week, and you can't get it, then you will lose a lot. Seeing these 3 new tasks, Li Hao did not blindly choose to receive them all, but silently thought in his heart. After all, there are limits to the tasks that a personal taskbar can claim. In addition to deducting 1 long-term task, only 2 tasks remained. Blindly receiving some tasks that cannot be completed for a long time and filling these 2 task slots will obviously suffer a big loss. In case the subsequent weekly tasks are refreshed, and there are new tasks with better rewards, you can only look at it and regret it. Get the Detect Radiation Changes mission. After much deliberation, Li Hao finally decided to receive only 1 task for the time being. The remaining 2 collection tasks are left alone. See if there's any hope of completing the task in the near future, and then make plans. After all, shelters don't have much demand for sugar and milk right now. The reserves left over before can be used for quite some time. After receiving the mission, Li Hao asks Jarvis to raise the shelter to the surface. Then, put on the insulated radiation protection suit, bring the radiation index tester, and walk towards the deck of the submarine-type mobile marine shelter. Open the shelter hatch. Li Hao starts the radiation index tester and starts the test. A few seconds later, the test results are out. The air radiation index is 1111. So high. Seeing this number, Li Hao's face also changed slightly. Don't look at the radiation index of only 11, think it is very small. Actually, this is already quite high. Normal people exposed to a radiation index of 0.2 are quite harmful. The 11,760 radiation index is 20 times more than 0.2. If the human body is exposed to such a high radiation environment, it is only a matter of time before it gets radiation sickness. Fortunately, my radiation protection life support suit can isolate the radiation index below 100. In the short term, there is no need to worry about the insufficient radiation protection function of the radiation protection suit. Thinking of this, Li Hao was also relieved. However, the solemnity in his heart did not decrease by half a point. After all, this radiation index is far from the limit. As the moon's deflection intensifies, the blue star's atmosphere will also become weaker. At that time, the cosmic radiation entering the blue star will inevitably increase, and the radiation index in the air will inevitably become stronger and stronger. In the future, the living environment of blue star humans will definitely become more and more harsh. Blue star humans are really too difficult. Thinking of this, Li Hao couldn't help but sigh. The deflection of the moon triggered a series of chain reactions such as the ocean era, high temperature of the sun, and cosmic radiation, making the environmental ecology of blue star more and more harsh. It's simply the rhythm of playing blue star humans to death. However, it doesn't seem to change anything at the moment. Don't think much about it. After completing the radiation index test of the outside air, Li Hao did not stay outside for long, and turned around and walked towards the inside of the shelter. Chapter 99. Go to the official Steel Island. May 25, 2021. Li Hao went out again to test the radiation index. Today, the external radiation index rose again by 2 points from yesterday, reaching 13 points. May 26, 2021. The sun is noticeably stronger today, and the moon's bias is clearly intensified. Affected by this, the external radiation index rose faster, directly reaching 17 points. The next 2 days, the growth rate of the radiation index also accelerated significantly. Until May 28, 2021, the external radiation index has reached 24 points. Counting today, Li Hao also completed a 5-day radiation index test. At the time of Li Hao's 5th radiation test, the task reward for detecting radiation changes disastered for the rest of their lives. Labor and management survived. Labor and management survived the kilometer-long mecha tsunami! It's good to be alive. I can't believe it. The Ark shelter at sea where I am located is privately built. The volume and weight are not large, only a few hundred tons, and I was almost completely overturned by the waves, but I didn't expect to be able to survive this super tsunami in the end! Brother upstairs. You're so lucky. In this super tsunami, the volume and weight of the Ark shelter at sea did not have 1,000 tons, and it was basically cool. The worst steel giant ships have tens of thousands of tons, and the most cattled 13 even weigh hundreds of thousands of tons, and the ability to resist wind and waves is strong. There's a fourth. In the face of the super tsunami, everyone is equal, and I heard that the official Arctic fleet lost a lot in this disaster, and at least hundreds of steel ships were scattered around and don't know where to go. At the end of the day, it's still not enough volume. For example, the two super steel islands with an area of more than 50 square kilometers that the authorities built with great effort were almost unscathed in the super tsunami, and they were extremely safe. The brother upstairs is right. The two steel islands are almost the safest places in the ocean age, but it is difficult to get a place to live, and it is almost impossible to get a place if it is not for their own skills and professional thieves, considerable value to the country, or considerable contribution. Of course. Although the two steel islands are very large, they are only equivalent to the size of two counties. At most they can only accommodate 1 million people. Compared to our population of nearly 200 million, it is completely a drop in the bucket. The difficulty of obtaining a living place on the steel island can be imagined how high it is, and the people who can go up are the elite of talents were selected from thousands of miles. Yes. It's so hard. I am a doctoral student majoring in biology, and now I am on the official steel giant ship, and I applied for a place to live on Steel Island a few days ago, and there is no news at all so far, and 80% is out of play. Alas. I heard that the interior of Steel Island is very prosperous, and it is no different from before the end of the world. It's a pity that I can't see it. Except for the inhabitants of the Steel Island, at most, the others can only wander around the trading market opened above, and they can't go to other areas at all, and they have to leave the Steel Island before sunset. Speaking of which, the officially open trading market is still good. There are many people selling things in it, and all kinds of goods are quite complete, but it is too expensive, working on the steel giant ship every day to get supplies. In addition to being able to fill the stomach, the rest of the things in the trading market can only buy a low-quality toothbrush at most, not even a cigarette. I am also a Buddha. Brother upstairs, you're too inflated. Cigarettes are now produced so low that they have long become a luxury, and they all need rations to buy low-quality cigarettes. There is a specially open trading market on the official Steel Island. Browsing the posts on the Doomsday Forum, Li Hao's eyes also flashed in an inexplicable light. He still has 2 collection tasks that he has not claimed. Maybe check out the open trading market on Steel Island. As long as there is sugar and cow trading there. The completion of his 2 collection missions was completed. With a large amount of supplies stored in his shelter, it should not be difficult to buy and collect them all. Thinking so, Li Hao immediately asked Jarvis to connect to the official positioning satellite to find the location of the official Steel Island. A minute later. Jarvis. The positioning is complete, and the 2 official steel islands are currently located around the former Fukuhiro City, near the Pacific Ocean. Coordinates. If the shelter is moving at full speed, how long will it take to get there? Hearing this, Li Hao asked Jarvis. It is about 5,632 kilometers from the target, and the current maximum speed of the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter is about 65 knots, and it is expected to take about 2 or 3 days to reach it at full speed. Because the resistance of water is much greater than that of air. Being able to have 65 knots underwater is already fast. Comparable to the top speed of an aircraft carrier of the bald eagle country. If it weren't for the shell materials and engines used by Li Hao in submarine-type mobile ocean shelters far beyond this era, it would not have been possible to reach this speed underwater. The ultra-high-speed submarine manufactured by Blue Star has a maximum speed of only 40 knots. This is not far away! Jarvis, target official Steel Island, full speed ahead. Hearing this, Li Hao ordered without hesitation. With just 1 trip to the official Steel Island's trading market, 2 system missions are possible. Such a cost-effective transaction, he naturally will not do it. On command, Jarvis also calculated in a split second the best route to the official Steel Island. The engine of the submarine-type mobile marine shelter was immediately activated. Blue flames gushed out, silently pushing the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter towards the distance. Soon, it disappeared into the sea. It's like a ghost in the water. Chapter 100: Encountering Large Unknown Marine Life. May 29, 2021. The outside world is calm. After more than a dozen hours of sailing, the submarine-type mobile marine shelter has left the sea area of Shanghai City for more than 1,000 kilometers. With Jarvis, a shipborne artificial intelligence that will not get tired, Li Hao does not need to worry about piloting. The whole process is fast and steady. Coupled with the absorption of impact force by the energy-absorbing alloy, there is not even the slightest movement in the mobile marine shelter. There is nothing to do. Li Hao can only go to the gym to play iron and play poker with Shazushi to pass the time. Li's early day passed quickly. May 30, 2021. The weather at sea changes. This afternoon, a super large tornado suddenly blew in the sea around the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter. Dozens of extremely strong wind cyclones frantically stirred the surrounding sea. This makes the waters in this area extremely turbid. Under such circumstances, the radar system of the mobile marine disaster has also been interfered with. To be on the safe side, Jarvis began slowing down the energy output of the generator engine, slowing the submarine-type mobile ocean shelter by 803 speeds. Prevent hitting sea peaks or hills too fast. After all, this sea area was recorded in the display records of official positioning satellites, and some time ago it was a large mountain area with many peaks. Had to be defended. May 31, 20,217, 15 amp submarine-type mobile ocean shelter was driven by Jarvis through the tornado-ravaged sea. Due to the tornado, Jarvis expected to arrive at the official Steel Island with a delay of at least 15 hours. At present, it is still about 3,230 kilometers away from the Steel Island. Midday. When the three sisters of Shazushi were preparing lunch, Li Hao sat in the head observation room of the submarine-type mobile marine refuge, leisurely sipping tea and snacks while enjoying the underwater scenery outside. As we get closer to the Pacific Ocean, in these waters that have only been formed for a few days, you can also see many strange and colorful sea creatures. Obviously, over time, these new seas born from land submersion will form a new marine ecosystem. However, these sea creatures have changed considerably from their pre-apocalyptic appearance, either getting bigger or growing some strange organs, which are obviously affected by the evolutionary radiation attached to giant meteorites. This morning, he saw a lot of strange sea creatures. Nearly 3 meters large 5-color glowing starfish, the gum kiss part exudes a metallic texture of marlin, more than 10 meters long silver sea snake. It is really only unthinkable, not unseen. These marine organisms should not receive a lot of the impact of evolutionary radiation. The degree of evolution is acceptable, and the threat is not very high. I'm afraid that in the infinite expansion of the ocean, there will be some perverted individuals who have evolved at great speed. Recalling a giant meteorite evolution radiation research report file borrowed from the official server a few days ago, Li Hao's eyes also flashed a deep light. The study shows that there seems to be no limit to the evolutionary effects of meteorite evolutionary radiation, or that the limits of their evolutionary effects have not yet been tested. The more evolutionary radiation an individual absorbs, the greater the degree of evolutionary variation. According to speculation, it is not impossible to appear those deep-sea trolls that are thousands of meters huge in science fiction movies. However, so far, Li Hao has not found marine organisms with such an exaggerated degree of evolutionary variation. This extraordinary sea, BFBJ, ocean creature individual. Perhaps only by entering the depths of the ocean can you find a trace. That's right. Today's Monday, and the task refresh bar should refresh. Stop thinking about these things that don't have a shadow for the time being. Li Hao open the system refresh bar. Sure enough, a new task appears on the system refresh bar. However, this time the luck is not as good as the last time. Only one task is refreshed. Shooting exercise, survival mission description. Excellent gun shooting skills can ensure your compatibility and allow you to better survive in the apocalypse. Please increase your rifle shooting level to intermediate over the next week. Note: the standard of intermediate rifle shooting skills is to maintain a stable hit rate of more than 95% within 300 meters. Mission reward: 5,000 points. This new mission, the reward points are quite generous. However, I need to complete those 2 collection missions before I can claim this mission. As early as when he decided to go to the official Steel Island, Li Hao directly collected the 2 collection tasks of sugar collection and dairy farming. In case the tasks of the new week are refreshed, refresh these 2 tasks directly. As a result, Li Hao's task bar is currently full. I can't get this task for the time being. Close the task panel. Just as Li Hao got up to leave the head observation room and return to the living room to prepare dinner. Bang. As if hitting something directly, the entire submarine-type mobile ocean shelter also shook. The head is tilted upwards. Jarvis, what happened? Feeling this violent shaking vibration, Li Hao quickly asked Jarvis. Sir, the bottom loading of the submarine-type mobile marine shelter is currently under attack by some kind of large unknown sea creature. Large unknown sea creatures. Why didn't you spot and dodge beforehand? Li Hao's face changed and he asked. It stands to reason that the superpulsar detection radar mounted on a submarine-type mobile ocean shelter should be able to clearly scan everything within 1,000 kilometers. Even if there are large unknown sea creatures, it is easy to find and avoid them in advance. Faced with the doubts in Li Hao's heart, Jarvis also quickly answered. Jarvis, According to the Superpulsar Detection Radar, there are no signs of life in this area, and this large unknown sea creature is suspected to have near-perfect biomorphic camouflage lurking ability. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.